Welcome to the Midweek Mailbag, your Detroit Lions midweek podcast where we answer all of your Detroit Lions questions and definitely aren't going to come into any sort of technical difficulties, I think. My name is Jeremy Reisman. I'm the producer over at PrideOfDetroit.com. You can find me at Detroit Online. Did I just say that? On social media. Whatever. You know me. With me, as always, who is throwing me for a loop, scrambling to get the right cords connected before the show, is the off-season general manager of Pride of Detroit. You can find him at Erik Schlitt on Twitter. It's Erik Schlitt. How are we doing, Erik?
Hey, buddy.
Nope.
I am having...
That is the wrong mic.
It's not working.
That's a fact. You know what? People are just going to have to deal with one podcast that isn't up to our audio standards, I think. Because they can hear you. It's fine.
You can hear me? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, yeah. This one backed out again. So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know what's going on. I had it hooked up. Everything was great. And then as we were waiting for the intro, it just cut out on me. So I've got another option that maybe I'll try in the break. But yeah,
But
not excited.
It's okay. For the first half, you're going to sound like you're recording from the bathroom, and maybe you are. People that are listening can't tell.
Ugh. That's not encouraging.
Either way, what you say is going to be more important than how we hear it. And we have a lot to talk about this week. Obviously, the Mike Kafka hire is the big news of the week. Plenty of questions on that. We're going to dig a little bit into the defense, a little bit into some more offensive line questions for the offseason and some free agent stuff as well. But yes, let's indeed start with some Mike Kafka stuff. We'll start with a Pride of Detroit direct question from Cody S. It says, with the Mike Kafka hire, do you foresee the Lions bringing in more quarterbacks this year? Kafka has a solid track record. Kafka has a solid track record with developing quarterbacks. Not saying we were trying to replace Goff, but could we start the process for his successor? I feel like there are a few good names we could get on day 3 of the draft. Do we get a Tommy sighting in Detroit? I assume that means Tommy DeVito.
I don't think Tommy DeVito's a free agent, is he? If he is, I would be surprised. I didn't find him when I was looking at the free agents, but it's a good question. It's one I don't necessarily know the answer to because we've already talked about the fact that we're probably looking at an offense that needs more tight ends. And so if they need more tight ends and then they also need more quarterbacks, like where do you start finding those spots, right? So in my mind, with the Goff situation being what it is, with them being in win now mode, they're going to prioritize a stable backup. Even though I think Hendon Hooker was viewed as this developmental prospect, I also think the Lions viewed him as potentially a guy who could be a steady backup for them for several years, and he just never turned out to be, right? So
Yeah.
my early assumption is that the addition of Kafka won't change the calculus too much. I think, it'll be Goff and then a veteran backup. And if they can add a younger player on the practice squad, so be it. But my guess is 2 quarterbacks on the roster for the regular season.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. DeVito is technically a restricted free agent, so possible. I mean, I don't really see the point in it. I think Kyle Allen was a fine backup. But, there is something that intrigues me about getting like a day 3 quarterback and just seeing what happens. I don't hate the strategy of just throwing a dart on day 3 with a quarterback and hoping, so you get something out of it, whether it's a career backup or a developmental guy. The Lions, like you said, the tricky part of all that is managing a roster spot for that player. Could you get him on the practice squad after, an underwhelming training camp or whatever? Maybe. But there are a lot of quarterback hungry teams out there. I don't know. I'm with you. I don't think the Lions need to make many changes here, but there is also, I think Cody has a point in that, like, you have a coach, a former NFL quarterback who has a couple, pelts on the wall in terms of developing a quarterback. I know the Daniel Jones thing is kind of like a mixed bag, right? Because he had a really good first year with Kafka, not so great the next couple of years as he battled through injury and was eventually benched in New York, and then obviously has the season that he did in Indianapolis. But I think most people that have been around Kafka really trust him as a quarterback developer. And I wouldn't say it'd be a waste if the Lions didn't use that, because, I mean, let's be honest, he could still help out a veteran quarterback like Jared Goff. He could still help out a guy like Kyle Allen. And, I certainly do expect the Lions to add a third quarterback at some point, right? But they're going to. Like, they need one for camp. They probably want one at least on the practice squad, whether that means bringing back Beathard, or maybe you can consider Malik Cunningham a little bit more seriously as a quarterback when they mostly used him as a wide receiver after adding him midseason. So, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting idea, and part of me right now is definitely delaying while you continue to mess with your microphone situation.
I think I fixed it.
I think you
I'm
did too.
I should be back.
Okay,
I said
great.
I switched cords and ports, and I think I'm good.
You're good.
Thank you for scrambling, for filibustering for me.
That's right. I was doing my best Dave Phipp impression there. We'll move on to the next one here from Tim Scott. Asks, do you feel like the Kafka hire was a bit of insurance in case Petzing doesn't work out?
I actually think they're separate. It I think works out that way, that he looks like insurance, but at the same time, I believe they brought him in because he's a guy that they really liked and they wanted to find a spot for. And during the interview process, they said there were multiple candidates that they liked, and obviously that's the case. They ended up going with Petzing because he was the more ideal aligned fit, I guess. But obviously, they liked a lot out of Kafka, and enough to pursue him, to put him in a what would they say, high ranking role, right?
Offensive role,
yeah.
It's reading Brad Holmes's quotes on it, talking to Dave Burkett down at the Senior Bowl this week. It really reminded me of the Carlton Davis, Amik Robertson situation, where they were pursuing both those guys, right? To be the corners of the future here in Detroit. They like them both. They're able to pull off the trade for Carlton, and they're like, well, that probably means we can't get Amik too, huh? And they roll back to Amik and say, hey, we got Carlton, so we understand if you don't want to come here, but we'd like you too. And then and then Amik's like, yeah, no, I'm in, let's do it. And the Lions kind of find themselves in a little bit of an embarrassment of riches here, where they're able to get two of their top candidates that they were going after at offensive coordinator. Now, that can always change, right? Like, there are still a ton of teams looking for offensive coordinators. We saw Mike McDaniel almost take a head coaching job after agreeing to be the Chargers offensive coordinator. So, I'm not like locked in that Mike Kafka is 100% going to be here, but I mean, the Lions haven't even announced it, right?
Sure.
Even though obviously
they're talking about it. Yeah.
Right. Holmes is acknowledging it. In terms of like insurance or not, I think, I mean, it's hard to know. It's hard to know because Kafka doesn't have a title and we don't exactly know the dynamics of what he's going to be doing.
Yeah.
Pass game coordinator seems likely, and it'd also be there'd be a reason why Brad Holmes might not be able to say that yet if they haven't had discussions with the staff that may or may not be here.
That's my lean, by the
Right.
way. My lean is we haven't had that conversation with the guy who's currently holding the position we want, or we have already had that conversation, but we haven't announced it.
Right.
And so that's my assumption, is that he's the high ranking role is probably, it's a person who's already been let go, but they haven't announced.
Right. That seems likely. And just by nature of each person's background, it certainly seems like you bring in Petzing to primarily focus on fixing the run game. You have Kafka, who has a history of working in the passing game. Obviously, he worked in the run game too in New York, but it just feels like the easiest, most explainable fit while we kind of sift through the titles and things like that. Obviously, I think the most positive spin on this, which it is if everything goes right in 2026 and Petzing knocks it out of the park and the Lions lose Petzing, you have a guy right there that can slip in and take his job in Kafka. I mean, it's entirely possible both like get credit and both go, and that would be
Sure.
odd and weird and anything like that. But I think that's like the most appealing part of this all for me, because it seemed like that was something that Dan was a little bit concerned about this offseason, right? When he mentioned maybe I'll keep calling plays so that we don't lose one after 1 year, which to me isn't a problem that you should really be that concerned about when you're making the hire, but is obviously something that should always be in the back of your mind.
Yeah, look, we've seen a lot of passing game coordinators get those promotions. So like if that's what he ends up being,
Yeah.
I don't think it would restrict him from still searching out or still being sought out.
Right. One other thing before we move on. Actually, no. Let me take this next question, then I'll bring up my point. From Damian Smith says, is there a risk of too many cooks in the kitchen on offense? There are already a lot of voices, including Bruce Gadkowski, Marquise Tuiasosopo. Brad Holmes was clear with Dave Burkett that this is Petzing's offense. I wonder how this will all be managed.
There'll be a hierarchy, right? There'll be what is it?
Power
like
structure?
Exactly, right? There'll be like, hey, look, here's the top. Here's how it breaks down. Here's the lateral movements. Who's in charge? And when they run their meetings, it'll be run like that. Petzing will be the one who has probably the right below Dan Campbell. Petzing is going to be in one of those OC roles.
Yep.
And then there's going to be guys who assist him from there. Now, maybe Kafka will be closer to, maybe he won't be at the position coach level, but he'll be in that brim slightly above it, right? You know what I mean? But he's still probably going to fall under the offensive coordinator role. And then depending on what you're talking about, or what topic you're focused on, there may be different organizational structures. So bottom line is Dan is the final buck stops with Dan, right? And he's going to put guys in charge of this, and then there'll be very clear delineations of responsibilities from there. So I'm not worried about too many ideas, because there should be I assume, all right, that the way the titles are, that there will be very clear who's in charge of what type of situations.
Yeah, I think there's this perception that it's just like, hey, let's just get as many bright minds in our offensive coaching staff and we'll figure it out later. I don't think that's how it went down, because first of all, if I'm Kafka and I'm still potentially a candidate for some of these coordinator jobs, I'm not taking a job in Detroit unless I'm clear on what my role is going to be.
Right.
And so I think there's already part of that, what chain of command, power structure, whatever you want to call it. I think some of that has already been outlined for Kafka, for Petzing. They just, like you said, probably can't announce it right now due to some other things they're still working through. Now, could there still be like some too many cooks in this kitchen type of situation? I mean, maybe. Some of these guys haven't worked together before, right? Anytime you have new people working in new positions, there could be disagreements and people trying to take, I don't know, command of the other and things like that. I can't say for certain that it's not going to happen, but I think maybe to me the most interesting cog in all of this is Scotty Montgomery. And I understand he's mostly serving as a position coach these days, right? That's his primary responsibility is the wide receiver room. But he's an assistant head coach too, which means he's doing some bigger things. He's talking in front of the team. He's giving speeches.
Sure.
And curiously, he, according to Dave Burkett, was not interviewed for this job, the offensive coordinator job. The only internal candidate was David Shaw, kind of surprisingly, which to me is like, okay, like what is the future of Scotty Montgomery here? Now, obviously, he's still getting some OC interviews, and was it Ravens this week? Reached out, wanted to interview him. I think. I always forget. No, not Ravens. Who is it? Whatever. Either way, he's still getting interest, and I'm curious. I'm curious what this all means for Scotty Montgomery, and like I'm not saying this to say I don't think the Lions value him. Of course they value him. They talk extremely highly of him. They gave him the assistant head coach role. I guess maybe in the Lions' view, he's better served as a head coach. They want to get him ready to be a head coach rather than to get him to be an offensive coordinator. But with the way teams are so hungry for these like X's and O's offensive play caller type mind guys as their head coach, I don't know if Scotty can make that jump without coordinator experience.
I think it's the assistant head coach thing is always an interesting title because it could mean different things to different organizations,
Sure.
right? Like with like Dan held that role in New Orleans, and he held that role because he was clearly being developed to be a guy who could go from position coach to head coach because of the leadership that he has.
Yeah.
And Kafka actually held that role in New York as well. And so with Scotty, I do wonder because I do wonder if it's just an experience thing, like they're just trying to get him more experience, if they're just trying to give him more accolades, or if maybe he isn't interested in being an OC because he interviewed for the OC position the year prior, when Morton got the job, and so I don't know. It's interesting to see how the Lions view it because I've always looked at it as Dan's probably viewing it the same way in which he was used as that assistant head coach. And so maybe he's viewing Scotty as a guy. Scotty was a college head coach, right? So it's not like he's unfamiliar.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't know if Scotty's really gotten as much attention as I would have expected at this point, right? Because Scotty actually interviewed for the Lions OC job when Ben Johnson got it,
Right.
if you recall,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
So he just hasn't gotten, things just haven't aligned for him, which is a bit surprising considering he's such a good position coach.
Yeah. All right, let's talk some X's and O's. Tom Wheelock on Twitter asks, outside of 3 tight end sets, are there any plays formation tendencies from Petzing or Kafka that have you intrigued? For example, more Texas routes or more flea flickers? First of all, why are you saying Erik's favorite play and my least favorite play? First of all,
that's I'm not surprised
wheel
by
routes.
that at all.
That the question should say, for example, Texas routes and wheel routes.
We talked about this briefly last week when we were talking about Petzing a little bit more, but
Yeah.
the way the way he gets people open on screens, I think is very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
The way he releases his running backs is very intriguing to me. It's not necessarily non-traditional, but it's not what we've seen from Detroit over the last 4 years, right? Detroit's been a little bit more traditional, static, like this is how we're releasing these running backs the same way. And Petzing has a lot of creative ways, down blocking tight ends that then release behind offensive linemen. You've got running backs releasing through A and B gaps and before getting out into their routes. Tight ends shifting inside and then releasing through the B gap, shifting into like an H-back roll and releasing out of a B gap. The Lions, for the most part, have done a lot of like, we're going to pitch to, we're going to flare the running back out, throw the running back, and then, maybe we'll get some offensive linemen. More often, it's just like we're using the wide receivers to block. It hasn't been anything overly creative, which is one of the reasons why I think I've been kind of down on their screen game, even though the numbers say they've been pretty successful at it.
Yeah.
I like the creativity that Petzing has shown.
Right.
more than what I've seen out of the last 4 years of the
Right.
Lions screen game.
Plus, all you need is like one that Jameer breaks, and it skews
Yeah.
the entire numbers, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah. Certainly.
no, I was reading Justin Rogers' film breakdown of the passing game under Petzing, and he specifically mentioned there's a whole section on screens, and there's one play in particular that's not like wholly uncommon, but I feel like it doesn't get used enough. It's the wide receiver bubble screen fake that leads into like a tight end screen over the middle. So you have like the
Mm.
left side of your offensive line releasing left like it's a bubble screen, and then like your interior offensive lineman kind of hold for a second, release up the middle, and then
Hmm.
you hit your tight end or motion receiver, whoever's out there, up the middle. And that was a really impressively designed explosive play for the Cardinals either last year in 2024. So I'm with you on the screen
Yeah.
stuff for
Because
sure.
it's another layer, right?
Yeah.
Like the fake screen left, double back screen right. Like defenses read that now. They don't
Yes.
often think you're going to go middle, and yeah, I
Right.
do agree. That's a creative next. It's the next stage.
For sure. Other things, I'm looking forward to more leaning into some of the play action stuff that they did a lot in Arizona. That obviously kind of matches what is really good for Jared Goff. I don't know. To me, it'll just be very interesting when, especially if you're talking about the pass game stuff, because I think Petzing is just working with an entirely different toolbox. Like his quarterback is a veteran who can read the middle of the defense. He's got weapons that don't really match the weapons that he had in Arizona. I know a lot of
Right.
people in Arizona were concerned about how he used Marvin Harrison Jr. and not getting the wide receivers more involved, but now he has a speed guy that he's never had in Jamison Williams. He has a guy like Amon Ra who maybe like covers some of the stuff that he was doing with Trey McBride, because I think a lot of the things that they did there was a lot of Cardinals fans complained about just using Marvin Harrison as a deep shot, just deep shot guy, deep shot guy, deep shot guy. A lot of contested catch type of plays being set up, but like that might not be a Drew Petzing thing. That might be a Kyler Murray thing. He's more willing to throw up a jump ball than Jared Goff is. Like Jared Goff doesn't do that very often. So I'm kind of curious just how different it's going to look to his Cardinals days, because again, like I just don't think the pieces fit. And one of the things that Brad Holmes said about the Petzing hire was that I admired how he adjusted to his talent.
Right.
I think Cardinals fans have generally disagreed, particularly with how things played out in 2025 when all the injuries happened and they weren't able to get a lot of guys involved that they wanted to get involved. But they certainly changed their strategy, right? Like that was a run first offense that had to become a pass first offense because of everything that happened. And, the Cardinals offense wasn't good in 2025, but it wasn't bottom of the barrel either. As for Kafka, I'm curious what your thoughts on Kafka and what he might bring to the game. I haven't done a huge dive on Giants offensive tendencies and things like that, but obviously from what we saw in person,
Yeah.
seems maybe a little bit more likely to drop something funky and cool, and trick plays are back, maybe?
Yeah, the hard part with the Kafka stuff is that when you have an interim coach coming in, he can't install his playbook, right?
Right.
He's taking the playbook that the head coach, especially an offensive minded
Sure.
head coach that's fired,
Right.
he's taking that, he has to utilize the tools that are already in place. So he's taking Daboll's playbook and then he's saying, how do I adjust it? Right. And so like when we played the Giants or when we scouted the Giants
Yeah.
ahead of the Lions game, that was one of the hard parts for me in doing my assessment was how much of this is Dable, how much of this is Kafka. And so instead of dialing in too much on the scheme, I instead tried to focus on what are the things that he's changed,
Mm.
right? Like his background is West Coast, right?
Yep.
And so Dable's was a little bit more pro spread, but Kafka's more West Coast based, which again fits with Detroit. They ran inside zones and gaps, so the gaps are going to align like some of those gap concepts.
Yeah.
But the some of the shifts that we saw with Kafka were he kind of shortened his bench. He just focused on the guys that he knew. He ran a lot of 12 personnel at the time. Um, so he leaned on his tight ends. That's a common theme that you see with Kafka, all through their whole Giants,
Yep.
tenure. Again, it's hard to ascertain is that Dable or not, but you saw them attack the middle of the field more, which again aligns with Detroit. You saw them going for it on a fourth down, which again aligns with Detroit. Overall, he was really aggressive, but was that aggressiveness because he was kind of forced into that situation or with the roster that he had? And so you see a lot of like correlations between what he did and some of the things that the Lions have done well. But it does get tricky in trying to find out, how much of the core base Giant scheme is
Dable versus him. Yeah.
right.
All right, let's talk a little bit defense here because a lot of people have kind of been like, "Oh, cool, we're making all these changes on offense. What about the defense?" So we got two questions here that are essentially the same thing from BK Shaky and Lions Royalty. BK says the Petzing Kafka hires seem to follow Dan's desire for more collaboration. How come we don't hear about this or see this on the defensive side of the ball? And Lions Royalty asked if the Lions are looking to add an outside hire to help Kevin Shepard, perhaps in a similar role as Kafka on the opposite side of the ball, who makes sense given who's available. So let's first start. Why haven't we seen this on the defensive side of the ball?
I don't know. I don't know if it's that we haven't. We just don't hear about it as often, right?
Right.
You have to keep in mind you have two former defensive coordinators on staff, in Casey Rogers and Jim O'Neill. Like they've both been defensive coordinators in the NFL, and so it's very possible that they're talking to Shep and they're giving him that guidance that he needed, and we just don't hear about it. We don't see it, and it's possible the Lions aren't looking for that veteran guy because they have two in house.
Yeah.
I think we all still kind of hope that they would bring in a guy just for that, right?
Yep.
As opposed to being a guy that is an advisor and a position coach. I think having a right hand man would be ideal, but it doesn't get talked about as often. And it's hard to say why. My guess is it's an offensive league, and people focus on the offense like 80%, 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And that's what people want to talk about. And maybe that's the fantasy, fantasy football
Sure.
element of people's lives. But it just seems like that's where a lot of the focus tends to be on the nuances of the offensive stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I have a couple thoughts on this. First of all, is what you kind of led with, which is just because we haven't heard anything doesn't mean it's not happening. And I think the Kafka hire is a perfect example of that. It's like everyone's up in arms about Petzing, and then once you had Kafka, it's like, oh, okay, I was freaking out for nothing. Maybe something similar is happening on the defensive side of the ball. I don't have any inside sources on that, but I'm certainly not counting it out. Secondly, like this regime has been open to that sort of things, right? Dom Capers was here in 2021. John Fox
Yes.
was here in 2023. David Correo was technically the senior defensive assistant last year. I think
People
Go
don't
ahead.
know. People don't know enough about Correo. Like he's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Like even though he hasn't always been in these high profile like positions where people know him, he's been in the league for a few decades now. Like
2008 is when he started as a defensive quality control coach
And he-
with the Dolphins.
and he was in Miami with Dan
Yes,
too.
yes.
Right. Like so. Like there's a long history there, and he was in the front office. He was doing analytics stuff. Like he's been
Yep.
all over the map and what he's done, and he's always been a behind the scenes guy that I don't think a lot of people know enough about.
Yeah. Now,
Go ahead, Don. I'm sorry.
no, those were kind of my two major points. Is that I think the Lions are open to this and they might be doing it. Like that's I think something that we have to keep in mind. Now, if you want to talk about actual names, I did come up with a few names.
Oh, good. Well, look, there's only 2 head coaching jobs left.
Right.
So that
But-
means there's some openings.
There are currently 11 defensive coordinator openings in the NFL. 11. So I want to preface everything I'm saying with that it's like we don't know who's actually available. That is
right.
That is the extremely tricky part of this process right now, is because there were so many head coaching vacancies on top of a lot of defensive coordinator fires. Looking at you, New York Jets. There's so many coaching vacancies right now that I'm sure there are a lot of coaches that are waiting. They're sitting like, okay, maybe the Lions have reached out to me about an assistant, but maybe I'm going to be a defensive coordinator somewhere. Maybe I'm going to be a head coach somewhere. So some of the names that I name here, which is only 3. Yeah, no, I have 4.
Okay, good.
Mind.
All right, I have 2. So
okay,
I'm sure we'll cross over.
I'm sure.
No, go ahead.
Was Wink Martindale one of yours?
No, but okay.
It's an interesting idea because one, he's a veteran guy who might be at the point of his career where maybe he's taking more of these assistant roles than defensive coordinator roles, but he's also very much still a commodity, right? He's still getting interviews. He could very well land one of the vacancies here. He does have a little bit of a connection. He was the outside linebackers coach for the Giants when Kafka was there. He was with the Giants. He was not the. I got ahead in my notes. He wasn't the outside linebackers coach, but he overlapped with Kafka in New York.
Okay. His stylistically is a little bit different,
sure.
But it would almost feel like a John Dorsey fit in the front office.
Right.
Like a little bit of hey, I don't see how it's a little oil and water, but sometimes you need that.
I will say this. Most of my options here are a little bit focused on pass rush. And to be a little crowd pleasing, because like Wink gets a little aggro, right? He doesn't get a friend, but doesn't get afraid about sending some extra guys.
No, that's his jam.
Now, related to Wink Martindale, this is a little bit of a deeper cut. The Los Angeles Rams have a position, I don't know if you knew this, called pass rush coordinator.
Okay. I don't.
The current guy holding that position is Drew Wilkins, who was the outside linebackers coach for the Giants while Kafka was there. So that's kind of like the overlap there. The pass rush with Los Angeles has been pretty good. He worked with Thibodeau, helped him kind of grow his career. Again, kind of a young up-and-comer. I don't know if he would leave the Rams.
Right. How did you acquire him? That's the trick.
That's the tricky part with him. Raheem Morris.
Okay, that's one of mine.
Is high on my list just because I think he's a high character guy. I think he's a guy that will be very relatable to the players. Maybe it didn't work out as a head coach, but he does have a pretty strong reputation as a defensive coach. The pass rush there in Atlanta got pretty darn good towards the end there. I'm still not entirely sure why they fired him. And I'm gonna read you a quote and you tell me who said it. Raheem Morris is a class act. He's the ultimate class act.
Dean Campbell said that after week 3 of the preseason.
That's right. Yep. After the where they collectively decided to end the preseason game early. So there's a lot of mutual respect there.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. That was got a lot of people on his side. The other one's McDermott. Like it's just like if he's if there's only a couple head coaching jobs and he's waiting, he wants to be a head coach, he doesn't want to be a coordinator, it's better than going to TV for a year. If you can go to Detroit and Detroit does well and you can jump right back on to the head coaching train a year later. So, I think it's very similar to Morris, right?
Yeah.
Like you could, if you're not going to be a head coach, and you don't necessarily want to go down to be a coordinator where you may have to be a coordinator for a couple of years, taking an interim spot on a team that you think is going to be competitive in 2026, that's an easy wagon to hitch to.
All right, I've got one more, and it's the ace up the sleeve. This is a guy where I'm going to say it. I bet the Lions have reached out to this guy. And that's speculation on my part, to be clear. But this guy overlapped with Dan Campbell as an assistant defensive line coach from 2012 to 2015 in Miami. He was also the outside linebackers coach for the Giants this past year. And let me tell you about the Giants defense this past year.
Mm-hmm.
It was
He had
not
a hard
good.
time stopping the run.
It was not good. And then
Yeah.
they fired Shane Bowen, their defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, they decided, you know what? Charlie Bullen, who is the guy I'm talking about, you're going to be the new defensive coordinator. And let me ask you this question. Who is the person that decided to fire Shane Bowen and promote Charlie Bullen? That would be the interim head coach of the New York Giants, Mike Kafka.
Oh. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there's a couple connections there. Obviously Kafka has a lot of respect for them. And you know what? The Giants defense actually kind of turned it around towards the end of the season. Wasn't perfect, wasn't great. But he has a lot of respect inside that building. He made Tom Pelissero's 24 young coaching candidates to know this offseason. And let me just pull a quote from Abdul Carter after they did give him the promotion. Abdul Carter says of Charlie Bullen, quote, "He inspires us. When he holds guys accountable, he doesn't call guys out, he calls guys up. If I had to pick a defensive coordinator, I would say Chuck." So I don't know. That to me, that seems like kind of an ideal younger guy that can kind of be a defense. Like if you want this kind of double offensive coordinator thing on the defensive side, I think Charlie Bullen would make a lot of sense. Now, I will say Harbaugh has already expressed some interest in keeping him in New York, but other teams have also reached out to him reportedly. No specifics on that, but Harbaugh has to convince Bullen to stay. It sounds like, and considering Bullen has a couple connections here, I think that would make some sense. And with that, I think we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some other things. Move on from Petzing and Kafka. Talk about some offensive line decisions the Lions are faced. Talk some free agency. And yes, Brad Holmes' favorite topic we're going to bring up, positional value. All that and more when we come back here on the Midweek Mailbag. All right, we're back. What's going on, Chet?
I'm trying to figure out who Charlie Bullen looks like. He looks like somebody like that I should know.
I didn't even look like what he looked. He kind of looks like Darren McCarty a little bit in one of these pictures. He's got a little mullet going, which is obviously the opposite direction in which the Lions are thinking.
There's someone else. There's someone else though. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Is he a redhead?
Like I don't think so. He's like blonde.
Chuck Pagano.
You know.
Got you, Lions Royal too. Thanks for stopping by, man. What?
I'm trying to think what is.
He's not.
Do you know it's Matthew Lillard from Scream, and he played Shaggy in the Scooby Doo movie.
Okay,
that's who it is. That's
Interesting.
what I'm thinking of. Yeah, I think it's Matthew Lillard. That's
before he had during his Scream phase.
Yeah, he's kind of tall and skinny and little goatee right there. He didn't have that in Scream, but he. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Oh gosh, I don't. Do you think? So I think it's my cord. This cord.
Yeah, it just keeps disconnecting.
It's either this cord or it's my adapter.
Got it.
But my lights are working for my adapter, and so is my monitor. So it might be this cord. I have a backup cord, and so
okay.
I just don't have an adapter. So I'm hoping I had to unplug the power to my computer. So I'm hoping the power just holds on.
DC Smithers was saying Chuck Pagano as a mentor to Kelvin, and a guy that maybe you could bring in if he's still interested in coaching.
Long history.
Is he still? He's not still coaching though, isn't he? I feel like
no.
Oh no,
he
is.
Think so.
He's a senior defensive assistant for the Ravens this past year.
Well, there you go.
It's not a bad idea. Couple people asking about Tanner. Do you have an opinion on?
We didn't get a question about Tanner.
Not one that I put, not that one that I saw on Twitter, but we have a couple from our live chat, and so this will just be a little bonus for our live audience, our video audience. Any thoughts on can you fit Tanner on this offensive coaching staff, stacked offensive coaching staff? Is it just
you make
as
him
a tight ends
end
coach? Yeah.
Yeah, make him tight ends coach. That's the easiest.
Yeah.
You could create. Okay, listen. I don't know if I didn't want to say this on the podcast, but I mean, I think it's probably David Shaw that's gone, right? And that
Certainly would make
Kafka's
sense.
probably the special passing game coordinator. That's my guess. That's the dots that I'm connecting. So you could, in theory, have a passing game specialist and a passing game coordinator if Tanner didn't want to be a tight ends coach, or he didn't want to put Tanner in tight ends coach, but Tanner has already been the passing game coordinator before. That was his job before he went to be OC. So
Right.
I don't know if he would come back in a lesser role as like, but at the same time, it might be his best option. Uh, I still look at the fact that he could probably go to Ben in Chicago and be like, "Hey, you got a spot for
That's
me?"
what I was
I also think he could probably go to Jim Harbaugh in San Diego, Los Angeles, and be like, "Hey, got a spot on that Chargers staff? I know you got a new. I'd like to learn from McDaniel if you got spots there, you know."
Sure.
So in Detroit, you could find a spot for him. I think yes.
Yeah. I maybe. I it does feel like it's getting a little crowded. I'm still I mean, not of the belief, but I feel like the Lions are going to get that Cardinals tight ends coach whose name is not coming to me at the moment. Ben Steele.
Yeah.
That feels like a no-brainer, bring along type, but obviously
Yeah, if they'll let him go. Yeah, the Cardinals are just in limbo right now.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
right. Right.
Hey,
Because
but hey, if the Browns can hire someone, so can the Cardinals. I have confidence in you.
it's the Cardinals and who left? There's one more left.
The Raiders, right?
Yes. Oof. It is not surprising to me that those are the last three jobs that were available were the Browns, the Cardinals, and the Raiders. Tom Brady's just taking his time. He's been busy with the playoffs, calling them.
I mean, if I'd rather have the Raiders job, but you have the first pick. You're gonna have you're gonna have a longer leash, I would think. You have some weapons there with a tight end and a running back. So
I also can I go on record as saying like I'm formally resigning from the Todd Monken fan club because if he thinks taking this Cleveland Browns job is a good idea, he clearly has some judgment errors.
When's he getting an opportunity to be a head coach? You know what I mean? Like I hadn't heard him connected to anything. Like everyone assumed he was gonna turn into the OC for the Giants, right? Like,
yeah,
he's like Jim Schwartz, and that people have always perennially view him as a coordinator,
right?
and that
Or
he never really
Bieniemy,
gets
right?
head coaching stuff. Well, Bieniemy gets kind of hamstrung by the fact that he's connected to Andy Reid, and Reid calls plays, so therefore
Right.
Bieniemy never gets the credit for being
True.
the OC. Like that's part of it.
But according to Jeremy Fowler, like Monken and the Giants had a deal in hold. So he was going to be their offensive coordinator. It certainly sounds like had the Browns not come
that
along.
Browns job.
That
I was having this conversation the other day about the Browns job, and the argument posed against me was there are only 32 jobs. It's a coveted position. Why wouldn't you jump through hoops to take one of those jobs? If you land one of those jobs, like it's a big deal. And this is it's $1 billion, you're being put as one of the 32 coaches in front of $1 billion, organization. And you're like, and it's, that's a prestigious job.
sure.
And my argument is it's a career ruiner. And like Like if you go there as a head coach, are you ever going to get a head coaching job
Yeah.
again?
Let's
You know what I
let's
mean?
look at the Cleveland Browns. I mean,
Well,
Stefanski is
Stefanski,
yeah.
right? But it's one of these things where they're
Boy.
organizations that just struggle to find success because of either ownership or front office or both. The Lions were like that, right? Like when's the last time a
True.
Lions coach, right? But when you had a change in ownership and you changed to Sheila, everything shifted, and now you end up getting a new focus on how to hire and things change. And so with some of these organizations, if you're not having a change in ownership or a change at the top, like are these organizations ever going to change? You know what I mean?
Uh,
The Browns
the
coaching staff is just their
it's a
front office too.
graveyard, man. Like
Exactly
Stefanski is obviously breaking the mold here, and it's interesting to
right.
see him go from head coach to head coach. But before that was Freddie Kitchens for a single year. Before that, I mean, and where's Freddie Kitchens
And
been
where's
since?
Kitchens now?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
nowhere.
Like, it's not just like you'll never get a head coaching job again. It's like your career
You're
is
done.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Before that was Hugh Jackson, who has,
done.
I mean, he went to be assistant head coach for the Bengals for a year and has been in
Yeah.
college, like low-ranking
Yes.
college places
Yeah.
since. Mike Pettin the year before that, I don't know where he is. Nowhere. He was he was assistant head coach for the Vikings for a year.
Again, a year and then gone.
Chudzinski, Shermer.
Gone. Well, Shermer stuck around a little bit longer,
Yeah.
but he never got back to the pinnacle again.
No. Cronell, I feel like he fell off a cliff.
Yep.
Ugh, Mangini. Did I say Mangini?
No, but again,
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Cronell got 1 year as the Chiefs head coach. After that. Anyways. Yeah. But yes, this is exactly what people were saying, like you said, about the Lions a few years ago. And now, well, I was gonna say, and now maybe finally a former Lions head coach was gonna get another job. Because it seemed like maybe Jim Schwartz was the stars were maybe aligning for Jim Schwartz to take the head coaching job there, but
I'm going to be honest. I have no idea how their leadership is going to go. Like, and that's always been the problem with Cleveland.
right.
But from an X's and O's standpoint, like they have a pretty good defense coordinator, pretty good offensive coordinator.
It's true.
Um,
Well, offensive mind, head coach
Sure.
slash yeah.
right. Well, but if he's focused on offense, like that's it helps. It's
Yeah.
the leadership that's going to sink him.
Right. Well, I mean, and
always
that's
the case.
You can say this is the right or wrong move, but I think it's poor process to say we're going to do a head coaching search and you have to keep Jim Schwartz. Even if you like Jim Schwartz, that shouldn't be the way you conduct a head coaching search.
Yeah, like if you like him that much, just make him your head coach.
Either that or just say like, hey, just so you know, I'm endorsing Jim Schwartz, but you don't have to pick him. Like to give kind of that ultimatum, which is only reportedly what's happening. It's not confirmed, and the Browns probably won't ever admit as much.
Right.
But when you're already giving parameters on how to do your job with a guy who's only a candidate, you're not going to find great candidates. You're going to find guys that see that situation and be like, wow, you're already telling me what I have to do the job that I want to do as I want to do it. That's I don't know.
Look, if you want to be told, what coordinators you can hire, you go to Dallas. They'll do that for you.
All right, let me get to some alerts. My activity feed is not working through Streamlabs, so I have to pull it up via Twitch. So you know what? This is the day that I talk about all the stream streaks because Twitch gives me those alerts. So maybe I should just be reading these anyways. I am Sam. How many months? 9 months subscribed to the channel. Says, shave your head, cowards.
I'm not employed by the team. If I get
No.
employed by the team, maybe I'll consider it.
Yeah. And you know what? It'll be on the Movember list again next year. So you want to do it? Laser Mouse, thank you for the 5 stream streak. Says I'm just here for the Tommy Cutlets hype, apparently. Monkey81, 35 months subscribed to the channel. Appreciate you. Sports Bear, 25 stream streak. Dang, I should really be paying attention to these. I don't know how many times y'all are watching in a row, but 25 in a row. Thanks, Sports Bear. I feel like I don't see it too much in the chat, but thanks for lurking, apparently. Unhappy Times, 3 stream streak. I hugged Pele, a first-time subscriber using their Twitch Prime. Appreciate that. And congratulations on hugging Pele. Justin Sane, 44 months subscribed, says LFG. Knoxville Lions fans, 10 streams in a row. Coffee Server, 3 streams in a row. How Now Brown Cow, 33 months subscribed to the channel, says this sheet mask killer. No one could be iller. The Black Zach Morris of Port Morris. The Human Jerry Curl, follow the drip. Young KPI, your problematic bay. DeZeus Nice. There you go. Uncle T-Rav, 34 months, subscribed on Twitch, says, I want to see the Lions get Carl Dunbar, the Steelers D-line coach that was not retained by Mike McCarthy. Interesting. I have not looked into Carl. Carl. Why do you like Carl Dunbar, Uncle T-Rav? Any particular reason? Phenom 12, 25 months subscribed to the channel, says Pride of Detroit offseason doesn't stop for anybody. Keep it rolling. We'll keep watching and reading. Hey, appreciate that, Phenoms. And JC, a 40 stream streak. My goodness. That's a lot. I feel like I haven't even been here for 40 straight streams, which can't be true. Why? I have a random tab open that is Ennis Rakestraw's YouTube stream.
Nice.
How did that happen? Dunbar is an OG as a DL coach. Has done great work with nose tackle and DT. Oh. Wait. Lost Ocean, thank you for the... Oh, my God. 2 things just came in. 59 months subscribed to the channel for Lost Ocean. Appreciate that. And then the Light Horse, 38 months. Says it's not 40, but it's close. That's 38 months. JC has a 40 stream streak. That's different. They're both impressive, though. Let me be clear. I was here when we rated Bearded Blevins on Fortnite. It's a while ago. Boulder, Detroit. I don't know if you saw...
What's that?
But Miko took a shot at John Whitaker for no reason. I mean, he was joking.
I saw the interaction. Yeah.
Everything's okay. To be clear. Miko, by the way, Miko apologized to me and John right after stream. It was like, I don't know where that came from. I didn't mean to say it. It was just the first name that came out of my mind. I was trying to be funny. To be clear, there's no bad blood, and John knows that too. But Miko did feel bad about it, so. Which to me is the sign of ultimate character, is that even if you make a joke about someone and feel bad about it, that's Miko's a good dude. Now we got bad blood. No, we're good. All right. I'm really annoyed that my Streamlabs events aren't coming through. 10 bits from JT Sam says, brisk, brave brigaders brandish broad, bright blades, blunderbusses, and bludgeons, balancing them badly. I think I kind of nailed that.
I could say it.
I got my finger on the pulse starting park racing. All right, we're through alerts, which means we can answer some questions from our live audience here. If you guys have anything you want us to talk about, I was trying to think if there's anything that you and I may have wanted to talk about that isn't on our actual list. I feel like I haven't talked to you in a little bit.
I can't believe there's that many defensive coordinator spots open.
Yeah. Mike Clay does a good job tracking like all the openings. So
Yeah.
that was technically as of yesterday. But
Hmm.
I'll throw his coaching sheet thing that I was referencing. I'll throw it to you too. Um, yeah, and I just counted all the DC spots. It's massive. Um, so it makes that real hard to predict who's going where next. But Ice Cecil, 51 months subscribed to the channel. Says, which potential head coach candidate will the Lions hire to their staff next?
Oh, talked about Morris or
Yeah,
McDermott. I'll
sure.
go with that.
All right. Yeah, we just kind of got done talking about that. What are the tight ends you
Winter?
want most?
Hmm. I the one I like
You
the most
Bellinger.
is Bellinger.
Yeah.
That's a guy. So with that, when that free agent list came out, or when I started perusing through the free agent list, I kind of went through and I color code it, right? So I'm like, okay, these are the guys that I like, and then I did a okay, these are the guys that are connected to Petsing. These are the guys that are connected to Kafka. And so the only real crossover that I had was Bellinger. Like he's the one guy who I had on my I like him and had a connection. So he's on my list. Um, I think it's a really like for what the Lions are trying to do, not needing like a tight end one, but trying to
Right.
increase their depth. It's a good tight end free agency class.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's half a dozen at least guys that I'm like, well, wait, they look pretty good. I think Hooper would look good. Another guy with a
Mm-hmm.
connection to Petsing.
Yep.
And so, you know, I you could if you want to get tricky, then you can, there's some guys in the draft that I think are a little bit like not quite tight end fits, but like creative fits for like a tight end 3 or 4 role. Got a Taysom Hill out there. So like there's some you have potential to find like a legit tight end too, but also the potential to find like a creativity guy. And then there's also like legit tight end threes out there that are like, hey,
Yeah.
this guy's just a good blocking tight end. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of them. There's a lot of options out there that I like. I don't know if they'd go with a guy like I think they're not going to go after a tight end one. So like take Pitts off the board, Goddard off the board, probably even take Likely off the board.
Njoku?
Isaiah Likely. And Joku's on the fence because he's
Yeah.
31,
Right.
right? Um, like you
I
can
am
take
curious,
those couple guys. Yeah.
but like, how much is Bellinger going to cost if that's your guy? Because he's coming off the rookie contract now, right?
Yeah.
And he's young,
Yeah.
and he's probably looking for like a 3 to 4 year deal. So it's not going to be cheap, but he's
No,
not
but
going to get tight
again,
end one money, probably.
I, he's right on the fence,
Yeah.
right? Let me.
That's to me. That's the biggest question here: is how much are the Lions willing to invest in someone who might is probably competing for the TE2 job with Brock
Mhm.
Wright. I talked about it
Well,
a little bit in my article today. Like you could theoretically cut Brock Wright this year, but he's only going to save you
yeah,
about like 2.2 million.
I think Bellinger would usurp Brock Wright
Yeah,
for tight end two.
but do you keep Brock Wright then
As tight end
for a
three,
year?
it's really money, right? Like
Yeah, he
you're
cost you
paying him a
about
lot of money to be tight end three,
5 million
but
or so. Yeah,
but I mean, I like Brock Wright. They like Brock Wright, but is Brock the guy you want to be tight end to? The guy that you want to be a blocking that can be
right.
a blocking threat, but also a reliable, release guy. And
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky situation too, because even if Brock Wright's your guy, are you going to extend him? Are you going to give him a contract extension?
I would not.
I would probably not
right
either.
now. I would let it play it out. I would let it play out.
It's right why I said that tight end's kind of this is a pivotal year for tight end, because you have to kind of decide what the future is with Brock Wright, whether that means adding more competition, giving him an extension, or potentially even cutting him. You obviously have Sam Laporta now eligible for an extension. Do you do that now? Do you wait to see how he recovers from back surgery? And I mean, I think you're eventually going to pay Sam Laporta, right? I think most people think that's going to happen. So in order to complement him, you're probably going to want to go relatively cheap. Do you want to pay someone like Bellinger in free agency who might get a pretty significant deal and then have to pay Laporta as well? Or would you rather go like day 2, day 3 draft pick and have someone develop under an offense that it's going to value a tight end quite a bit?
It really depends, I guess, on how much you're going to want to use it, right? I would be okay with them signing Bellinger and drafting a tight end in the 4th round. I'd be totally fine with that. Go ahead.
Sorry, this is since I was just talking about Jim Schwartz.
What happened?
I feel like we need to talk about this real quick, because several reporters are now saying that Jim Schwartz is upset about being passed over as head coach, and there's no guarantee that he's going to stay. Were we talking about that when we were on the podcast? Do I need to start the next segment being like, hey,
no, I don't think we were. I don't think we talked about that. I don't think it was.
I don't remember. Chat, you need to be our stenographers. Were we talking about? We might have been talking about that because we were talking about defensive. Well, no, we didn't really bring up Jim Schwartz as a possible guy to come in. Why not though? He's got nothing else going on.
If Vance Joseph can go from being head coach of the Broncos to DC of the Broncos like a cycle or two later, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Why not Schwartz?
Yes, I would imagine he lands a defensive coordinator job, Jim. Yes.
He might send him to the Raiders.
If this is what happened, which is kind of like reading between the lines, this feels like what has happened. The Browns do their head coaching search. They insist on keeping Jim Schwartz as their defensive coordinator, which leads to multiple candidates turning down their offer, like taking their name out of consideration, maybe not turning down an offer, but pulling their name from consideration. Then this week, they're like, you know what? We really need to consider Jim Schwartz as a head coach. And there were a couple reports out there this week that things are starting to trend that way. Jim Schwartz is starting to be one of the major finalists here. And then they say, you know what? Nope, we like Todd Monken better. And then they piss off Jim Schwartz so much that he's not even going to stay. So that the guys that turned down your job because you said, I need Jim Schwartz, now could have been your hire because Jim Schwartz isn't going to stay anyways.
This is amazing.
That is. Oh.
I love it. I love every bit of this.
Dear Lord. By the way, I need to find. So there was a great
Nate Tice's response to the
What?
Jim Schwartz news.
What?
The aristocrats.
This tweet
very funny
from Ben Solak, pulling from a Zach Jackson article from The Athletic on Todd Monken, which, as I totally forgot, Todd Monken was the offensive coordinator for the Browns a while back.
Oh God.
Under Kitchens, who was calling the plays. So Monken was here's what came from The Athletic talking about Todd Monken's time with the Cleveland Browns. And this is Jackson speaking. Speaking of disgruntled offensive coordinators, Todd Monken's one season with the Browns was a disaster. Monken had the offensive coordinator title, but Kitchens called the plays, and it was clear that Kitchens and Monken were never on the same page. Multiple sources told The Athletic late in the season that Monken would spend time on the field before games telling opposing coaches how bad things were with the Browns, calling them a, quote, total mess, and saying that Kitchens' Sunday play calling generally steered away from most things that had been in the game plan from Wednesday to Saturday. And somehow Monken has decided that going back to Cleveland is a good choice.
Oh boy.
Again, I feel like we need to take this moment to just sit in this and realize, again, low bar, we're beyond those days here in Detroit.
Yeah.
Those things are no longer happening in Detroit. And I'm not sure they were ever happening on that level of incompetency. Pelissero has some details. Say, after the Browns informed Jim Schwartz this morning they were passing on him to hire Todd Monken as head coach, Schwartz was visibly upset, said goodbyes in the building, and told older coaches he's not coming back, sources tell the Insider. Schwartz is under contract, and Cleveland wants to retain him, but his future is now unclear.
Awesome.
Whew.
I dig it.
You dig it.
Yeah.
Jed and Savannah, thank you for the 20 stream streak. Appreciate you. Thanks for hanging around. All right. Let's get back to some line stock or whatever you guys want to talk about. Line Suffer asks, when does the NFL announce the new salary cap number? You're usually good on those dates.
Well, it's usually like in March, I want to say, or
I
maybe
feel like it's February, but
maybe late February.
it was March 1st last year. So you nailed it.
Yeah, it's they
Although it was
So-
February 23rd the year before. So
they got to wait. So here's the deal. They got to wait for the Super Bowl to be over,
yeah,
and then they have to look at, then all the rosters become final and locked, and then they assess where everybody's at. Then they go through all the likely to be earned and not likely to be earned bonuses, and then they adjust. They do all their adjustments, crediting teams or deducting teams for the following season. And then once they get all of those in, then they have to figure out rollover. And then once you get that set, then you have to do the formula. And then the formula is, it's not public, but it involves all these different factors that go into it. And then from there, the number gets spit out. But you got like 4 or 5 steps that you have to go after the Super Bowl.
yep. Just keep reading more about Shorts. It's so bad. So bad. But now there are 12 openings. Yeah, you know what? Good point, Joe. There's another defensive coordinator opening. Was that not on the Mike Clay list before? Yeah, that was already technically listed as an opening. How do you like the tight end draft class? Have you dug into that at all? Q Note wants to know.
A little bit. I'm still, brushing the surface on that. There's a good blocker named Sam Roush out of Stanford who's at the Senior Bowl right now. He's kind of on my list of guys. There's, if you look at how some of the people have ranked some of the tight ends so far, there's probably one first rounder, and then there's going to be probably like 4 or 5 that go in on day 2, and then there'll be a whole boatload of day 3. I'll eventually get to those like kind of day 3 guys as I go. Right now, I'm just kind of sifting through kind of like the top 100 players in the draft class. And so far, I've only come across a handful of those tight ends. And I don't know if the Lions would even spend a top 100 pick on a tight end anyways, right? With their
Right.
other needs right now. So most of the tight ends I've kind of looked at they're either on that fringe or a little bit or maybe better than I think what the Lions would do. So I don't have a lot of names right now that I'm like keen in on. Um, I mentioned Bredesen from Michigan, the fullback, and being like an H back. He was at the Shrine game last night. He's a guy who I think the Lions could be like, hey, you're going to be our tight end four, and we're going to utilize you like the Steelers utilized the kid from Michigan State, whose brother is on the Steelers. Oh man,
I should know that.
someone in chat will tell me.
That's Zach Horton erasure though.
Say that again.
I said this idea of Ben Bredesen is Zach Horton erasure. You already have Zach Horton at home. Why?
Yeah, well, you need maybe a
Hayward.
better version. It is Hayward. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, it's a similar type thing as Hayward. Like Hayward was a guy that I was like, hey, you could bring him in and be a tight end three. You can do a similar. I have similar views on Bredesen. You could make him fullback, H back, tight end three, or four. You're going to use him a ton on special teams. Arguably the best blocker, pure blocker in this class. So,
Zach
so
Horton.
Bredesen's got my eye.
They already have Zach Horton. It's
Dude,
fine.
show me how he blocks, and then show me he can pick up a block, and then I'll be more in line on Zach Horton. That's the hard part he's struggling with right now.
We'll see.
Hopefully.
I don't know why I'm such a Zach Horton stan. It's mostly illogical and based on hope, but I've always
It'd be nice. It'd be nice if we could get it
sign him to
together.
a futures deal, so there's something about them that he likes.
Sure.
Brian Flores is so amazing, and I think he is. Why don't other DCs try to copy what he does? I thought it was a copycat league.
It's hard. It's like it's like being like why doesn't every team run the Baltimore offense, right? Like you've got a couple of rare players who are unique and hard to replicate. And
like Van Ginkel to me is like a unicorn.
yeah, he would have been great in the Sam role when he became a free agent. And Miami never really utilized him, I think, to his full capacity. He was a big catalyst in how in turning Flores' scheme into a juggernaut, right?
Yep.
Grenard is obviously really good as well. But that was an aggressive, they had an aggressive free agency period to try and land those two guys, and that made a big difference. It's a hard system to replicate, is what it is, right? Yeah. That's why it's not. And you have it's the reason I reference the Ravens is because you almost have to like go all in on this one style.
Right.
Right? Like you have to say everything is going into it. The playbook, the style, the investment. We're throwing out these draft guys and we're bringing in new guys, all to fit this one style. Everything is in this one bucket. That's the type of defense it is. It's everybody in, and then if he ever leaves, they're in trouble. Like they're gonna have to completely like come up with something different.
But he's never gonna leave.
Yeah, that's the problem. Stupid NFL.
Stupid lawsuit. Ongoing, not to say he's stupid for filing it, but
no,
it's just getting in the way. I mean, that has to be the reason, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
But like, if that's the case, why are you even interviewing him? Don't tell me it's just a Rooney Rule thing.
Maybe he's a bad interviewer. Maybe he's Ben Johnson.
There is that. There are people saying that he's not the most fun person to be coached by.
He's intense.
Who was it? It was some former quarterback. Was it Fitzpatrick? Maybe there was that clip I think on Chris Long's podcast.
Yeah, because Fitzpatrick was the quarterback in Miami when he was the head coach, and what he talked about was that he changed the type of coach he was, the type of person he was. He let the pressure get to him.
Yeah.
And then he, started blaming people and shutting them out instead of like
Right.
incorporating things. And
That was like a
I,
decade ago, though.
yeah,
Right.
but
That's the
that
hope.
I also think that's maybe why Jim Schwartz isn't a head
Well, I
coach.
mean, I will say,
Um,
as much as the Browns are to blame for everything blowing up there,
mhm.
throwing a tantrum in the Browns facility is also not a great look if you're trying to get a head coaching job, right?
uh, yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's there's so many like just poorly run organizations that just it's I'm happy to not have to cover.
Yeah. Slyest Rye. Thank you for the 47 months, buddy. I'm all done with parent teacher conferences. Nice. Forever?
Mm.
Do you. Oh, you had exactly one. So you got a half day. Nothing to do until 3. Well, we have something to do at 4. Wink. Proud of Detroit Direct subscribers. Wink. I mean, we're
That's
doing a
a
first. We're doing a first bite on Mike Kafka.
that's a weird wink.
And
Okay.
I can already tell you right now, it's going to be way more optimistic than our last first bite. Because Bobrack was not a Drew Petzing fan. We learned,
Oh. Oh. Well, that's unfortunate.
but I can already assure you that the person we are currently lined up to talk about with Kafka is a bit surprised that he did not get an offensive coordinator job. So we'll get into that. We thought about doing another Petzing episode with a different Cardinals writer, and we still might down the line just because it felt like that. Nothing against Bo, but I feel like everyone would benefit from a second perspective.
Okay.
But it's also like it's hard to go out and be like, hey, we're looking for a Cardinals reporter, writer, analyst to
Mhm.
talk at least somewhat positively. Like I can't pitch that. I can't be like, hey, say nice things about Petzing. I want people to give us their honest opinion, but if I go into
Mhm.
that and just like get another person who's like just as negative about Petzing, then like what are we doing here? You'll take another honest assessment, maybe down the line. We'll see. We have to see kind of how the rest of the coaching stuff plays out here. Joe Tiger, 3-stream streak, asks a question here. Says, can you compare this year's cycle to last year's? Morton never got any pushback in the way Petzing was. Was it the fact that there was no other shiny toys available, or were we so cocky at 15 wins that Lions fans were sure this was going to work out? But why were we confident about Morton in a way we aren't about Petzing?
Well, I think they were confident in Morton because they were trying to run the same system back. And they
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to disrupt the cart. They wanted to keep the momentum and just have someone steer, the cart in the right direction. And that was the problem, is that Morton had a hard time keeping it on the road. And so now they're saying, okay, now we need to shift to philosophical views that align and work and know the fact that our talent should be able to make us another, a top 5 unit again. And so the ideology, I guess, has shifted. Second of all, I don't think anyone was ever all in on Morton.
Yeah,
I
Morton
think
had
there
a
was
fair share of
always
critics.
right. There was always a
It
some trepidation that was carried along with him. We like the logic was always understood, but I don't think anybody was ever like standing on a table saying this is the next Ben Johnson.
I there was plenty of skepticism, I would say, Morton, but I think part of the reason there's so much more backlash with Petzing, there's a couple of reasons. One is because now there's proof that Ben Johnson had a huge part in the offense. I think there were a lot of people that were very cocky about Ben Johnson leaving and saying we're going to be fine. People underrate Dan Campbell's X's and O's. It's everything's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Just get someone who can keep the boat steady. Now we know that's not as easy as it looks. Mm-hmm. 2, the Lions interviewed other candidates publicly that were known, because last year's coordinator search was done all behind the doors. Like, I don't know did we hear of any candidates being interviewed before they hired anybody? I don't know if they did.
I think we maybe heard that they were interviewing Scotty or something, or maybe Tanner and Scotty were getting some. I don't think it was anything really externally, though.
So as soon as you throw out Mike McDaniel's names, Mike McDaniel, Kafka, all the other guys, external guys that they interviewed, like, suddenly everyone's eyes got wide open. Like, oh my God, look at all the possibilities. Oh, look at all the guys that are available. It seemed like a very strong pool of offensive coordinators, Todd Monken included, even though the Lions didn't interview him. And so to hear all of those public names spend a week and a half marinating in those candidates and Petzing not being among them, and then Petzing just being sprung on us, that is also, like I've said it multiple times now, I feel like if Petzing had been announced as a candidate a week before, then the backlash would have been way less. There'd still be backlash, no doubt about it.
Right.
But I feel like the backlash probably would have been on par with John Morton last year, where it's just like, I don't know, there's some things about his resume that scare me. I will say this, because one thing that was never made clear to me last year was how wide of a scope that search was. Because the only thing we heard about it was Dan Campbell saying at the combine, between all of the coaching interviews that he did, it was somewhere like in the 25 to 30 range. He'd interviewed that many people. And that's every coaching position. Not offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, like literally everyone. And so you're like, oh, wow, that was pretty exhaustive. But according to Burkett, in his latest article, this is how he describes the difference between the coaching search in last year and this year.
Okay.
Unlike last year, when the Lions hired John Morton to replace Ben Johnson and focused on candidates who would keep Johnson's offense in place, all 3 of the candidates they interviewed last year worked for the Lions under Campbell. 3! All 3. So they interviewed 3 people. And it says this year's search was wide-ranging and included just one internal option, David Shaw. So I think that's something pretty significant to point out that probably hasn't been underlined enough. That they interviewed 3 guys last year, and they were all essentially internal. So it was Scotty, it was Tanner, and it was John Morton. That's it.
Is he considered internal?
Well, yeah, because he said all 3 candidates they interviewed last year worked for the Lions under Campbell.
Okay.
And so John Morton technically falls under that. So I think that's, I don't want to say like that's not doing due diligence, but it's kind of not doing due diligence last year. And I guess I'm a little bit surprised. Like, I've defended the search process last year, even after firing John Morton, because I think it, from a philosophical standpoint, it made sense to just try to continue to do what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But in retrospect now, knowing that they didn't even entertain any external candidates, essentially, unless you count John Morton, that's a little surprising to me. A little bit surprising.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that puts Lions fans a little bit more at ease about the process this year. That they interviewed, 9 guys, and only 1 was internal?
I think so.
Yeah. Do you think Petzing changes the terminology used? Maybe.
Yeah. gets tricky.
I mean, it's going to be fascinating to find out how much Campbell really wants things to be different. And even Brad Holmes saying about Petzing, like, this is his offense. This isn't our offense. We didn't ask him to do what we do. Mm-hmm. This is his offense. He's going to be running the show. But that being said, it's certainly easy to see like the philosophical and schematic overlap. So it's like it's external. Things seem like they're going to be different, but at a base foundational level, Petzing certainly seems to see eye to eye with Dan.
I agree with that.
Okay. Lost Ocean asks, if Rakestraw has an injury-riddled season in 2026, do you try to cut or trade him for a 6th or 7th round pick since he'll have one more year of his contract for the 2027 season? Dead money's under $400K.
Who's trading a 6th or 7th round pick for a guy who hasn't played like 3 games, right? Yeah. Like you're not going to get anything for him. At that point, you're just holding on to him. That's the way I view Rakestraw, right?
I agree, because I was in the article I wrote yesterday about running backs and the David Montgomery situation. The best the Lions can hope for in a David Montgomery trade is probably a 6th round pick. Maybe a 5th round pick, but I kind of doubt it. And so if David Montgomery is netting you a 6th round pick, Ennis Rakestraw is conditional 2030 7th round pick if he has another struggle bus season. I understand like the rookie contract is small and you know, a team might certainly be willing to take a chance on him, but I don't know how much.
You're not gonna get much value.
What did Jeff Okudah land? 5th?
I don't remember.
5th. But Jeff Okudah was a 1st round pick. Jeff Okudah played a lot of games.
Top 5 pick.
Top 5 pick.
Mm-hmm.
He played 15 games the year they traded him. Granted, he only played 9 his first year and 1 his second year, but that's kind of where I'm feeling on. I'm with you on Rakestraw. All right, I think maybe we should get back into it. You got about an hour?
Yeah.
Okay. Nope. No idea guys named on what Kafka will do. Brad Holmes talked to Burkett at the Senior Bowl this week and basically said, let me see exactly what Burkett wrote. Kafka, a former NFL quarterback who was also interviewed for the offensive coordinator job, will have a high-ranking title on offense that will be specified later this offseason, Holmes said. So, no clarity there. Hopefully, I mean, the one thing that we know, maybe not for certain, but almost certainly true, is that we'll probably talk to Petzing and Holmes and Campbell at the NFL Combine. That's still a month away, though. All right, let me get back to the show. Oops, that's the wrong scene. There we go. All right. Welcome back to the Midweek Mailbag here on your Pride of Detroit podcast feed. Let's jump right back into some questions. We'll go into Twitter for the next batch here. Polar Polish asks, is there a reason a lot of NFL centers are converted guards from college? Is it a size thing, or does the college game not value centers in the exact same way?
So I don't know how true this is.
Mhm.
I know that there's a lot of you do see a lot of guys who are that can play both positions, both center and guard. But I don't know if I know a ton of guys that are like, hey, this guy played guard in college, but he's going to shift to center. Um, in college, if that was the case, if it may have been a lot of times it's guard was the maybe the last position they played.
Yeah.
But colleges shift guys like all the time, so it's not unusual for colleges to shift guys. But typically, once you get to the NFL, the NFL relies heavily on guys that have experience at center. You need experience calling plays, snapping the
Right.
ball, being able to move your head into the right spot. And so I don't. I'm not sure if there are, in my opinion, and maybe I'm just overlooking them, or they're just not in my vision here. But the second part of that is, I do think there is a value perception that is a little bit changed, because in college you run so many spreads, right? So much
Hmm.
spread offense that you need your tackles to be your best players, right? Like in high school, your best football player is usually the player, your quarterback. You put your best football player in high school quarterback, and then if amongst the linemen in college nowadays, you get these tackles that you just have to be able to run the guy off, right? You just need
Right.
these athletes that can hold up just a little bit. Um, but then again, there's cases of you do see a lot of cases of like guys that are playing tackle shift into center like their senior years or make the transition. We're seeing that this year in a lot of the senior bowls and the East West Shrine Game guys, right?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of like, hey, I was left tackle at Duke, but now I'm playing center at the Shrine Bowl because I know the only reason I was playing left tackle at Duke was because I was this athlete.
Yeah.
So, but in center, but in the NFL, I'm my body type, my skill set is probably going to be better on the inside. I want to show I'm smart enough to play center. So it is viewed differently because once you get to the NFL, center has they have so many responsibilities. They have to adjust to things so much
Yep.
faster, and it becomes a much more complicated position to learn, which is why I say teams typically look for guys with experience. So I do think that they are very different, because of this style of football.
I do also wonder if the mental load is way different because in the NFL you have to be maybe the smartest offensive lineman on the team, right? Because
Right.
because you are adjusting to things happening so much more quicker ahead of you because you're doing so much before the play work. That that back half one where you're doing all the pre-snap work, I feel like that is not something that is necessarily happening in college, right? You have your coaches are
Mm.
making the adjustments a lot of time from the sidelines, right? You always see the quarterback turning to the sidelines after they do like a one knee raise, like, okay, what do we
All
do?
right.
They're calling it in from the sideline. A lot of that burden isn't on the center as much, and so maybe in college they aren't putting their smartest guy at center because it's just not needed as much as it would be in college in the NFL. Now, a lot of that mental burden is still there though, right? Because you're the one that has to look both ways. You're the one that has to the action is coming a lot quicker to you than it is for a tackle or even some of the other guards. But I do I do wonder if it's just more of a mental load where that is
Mm.
so like the mental load is so much more important at the NFL level than the college level that you see guys that might be playing guard, might be playing tackle, like you said, that are the smartest, best offensive linemen on the team value that knowledge, that football IQ more so in the NFL, and that's why they want to kick him to center maybe. But I don't like I'm not like I'd have to look at statistics and trends to see if the best college, the best NFL centers are transfers from guard because I'm also not entirely sure about the premise.
I'm trying to remember. There was okay. the best example that I can think of here is in 2016, Jim Harbaugh was hired as the Michigan coach,
Hmm.
right? And what you saw that year from Michigan's offensive line was Mason Cole, who was their left tackle for like 3 years, shift to center. And the reason he did that was because he was their best and smartest offensive lineman.
Hmm.
But with Jim Harbaugh's offense being a pro style offense, you saw Cole shift inside to that. And I think that
Right.
that's the best example
Right.
of how we can illustrate what we're trying to say.
Yeah. Good one. Nice pull.
Thanks.
All right, next question comes from Motor City Rush on Twitter. Says, in the discussion on improving the offensive line, I don't see Miles Frazier's name appear often. Yet on the lines inside the den, Brad said he had a high grade on him, referring to the comp pick that they originally had in the third
Yeah.
round, saying I would have picked them had I not traded that to get Isaac Tisla. So,
Yeah.
so back to the question, says, could you guys see him in a starting role next season? And if so, where?
Yeah, I could see it. I'm not betting on it because one, he missed half the season with an injury.
Yep.
He didn't have any training camp, and when he came back, his role was limited. And that's really the reason why he's not in the conversation right now, is because he's basically going to be a rookie. He's going to have some mental reps. He's going to have a couple of months of practice, but nothing really intense. He saw some game action, so he's going to be ahead of the curve, certainly going into next year. But I would throw him into the mix with like if they drafted a guard in round 3. I would say, hey, yeah, if you're counting on that guard to play, he's going to probably be challenged by Frazier, but I don't think I would say either one was necessarily like the front runner, coming out of the draft. He certainly has the ceiling to earn a starting role, but he has to earn it. We haven't seen enough out of him to include him in the conversation yet.
Yeah, I mean, we've basically seen none of it, right? Like
Yeah,
we've
some
seen
game
a
snaps,
game and a
a couple
half, right?
series. Yeah.
I think part of it too is there's some consternation coming from fans, not necessarily inside the building, about having such a young interior. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably going to start Christian Mahogany next year. You're definitely going to start Tate Ratledge at whatever positions. Are you willing to start? Which, I mean, you just said, and I agree with basically what amounts to be a day 3 rookie in Miles Frazier.
Another one.
That's a lot of youth for an offensive
Yeah.
line that we're talking about the Lions probably putting some sort of significant investment into. I think that we all agree that they should. And so going maybe, I mean, if it's literally those 3, you're talking about an inexperienced center who's never played a game there in Tate Ratledge. You're talking about Miles Frazier, who I guess in this instance might be moving to left, or might be, I mean, he's played left and right, so he could play either one.
So yeah, so is Mahogany. So you
So is
could
Mahogany.
find out what works best.
Right. And then with Mahogany, like, he still has a lot to prove. I know you're a big fan, but
Sure.
like, last year did not go as I think he wanted and as a lot of people expected. So even though this will technically be, year 3 or whatever for him, it still kind of feels more like year 2, and in a lot of ways he doesn't have the experience of a rookie who played the entire season yet.
Like this run scheme for him, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You like to
pulling
fit
guards.
with
Pulling
Petson?
guards and with Petzing. Oh yeah. Yeah, get Mahogany out there and let him wreck people. I'm cool with
Right.
that.
And so you put all that together of 3 very new, potentially guys that are playing in spots that they didn't play in last year, with maybe even replacing a left tackle with someone who might be a rookie, and something you're just like, I get the youth movement. I get the need for going young and cheap and all those sort of things because of the way the salary cap is, because of the nature of having 30-plus-year-olds on your offensive line for the last couple of years. But that's a lot of faith in youth for a unit that you yourself have said is critical, is tantamount, is the engine under the hood, and getting the run game back to what it needs to be is everything. Relying on Miles Frazier to me can't be plan A. And honestly, I wouldn't prefer it to be plan B either. next question. Feels like we haven't talked about edge in a very long time. So let's get to it. Ben Hammond asks very simply, who are some realistic edge free agent candidates?
Oh, free agent? That's a tougher one.
Of course it's a tough one because no one wants to let the free agents go.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is your like when I read this question real fast, I thought it said in the draft because I assumed that's where we were going because that's usually where you find your edge rushers.
Right.
Also, are they going to pay a quality guy? That's the really hard thing. Is like in my mind, I've looked at this class of free agents and said, I don't know if they can afford them. Right. And so that's why I've really turned my draft or my edge focus to the draft is because it's a lot easier to acquire a guy with a reasonable salary that way. But if we're looking at this draft class, or I'm sorry, this free agency class,
yeah,
Trey Hendrickson's going to be at the top. That's everybody's wish list. He's going to be way expensive, right? I even think Jalen Phillips is going to be probably too expensive as well, right?
He played well for the Eagles down the stretch.
Right. Guys like Khalil Mack and Bosa, like,
Bosa's kind of washed. Let's be honest. If you watched him in that playoff game,
yeah, no, I wasn't a fan. Cam Jordan seems closer to retire than not. Jadeveon Clowney is he's kind of in that same bucket. The one who interests me the most is Boy Mafe. Coming out of Seattle's scheme, I think he's going to be a guy that's a little bit more coveted than people would say.
Yeah.
Kwity Paye has always interested me because he played and thrived opposite Aiden at Michigan. And so, maybe that connection will work again. So that's an interesting one. I still think they bring back Muhammad. A guy like Hassan Reddick doesn't really fit.
It's tough. Slim pickings.
Like you're getting a lot of like Josh Uche is more. It's not a clean fit for what they're trying to do. Arden, like same thing with Arden Key. You're saying these guys are more dedicated pass rushers than like kind of guys that can do everything. Same thing with Chason. Now we're getting further down the list. I don't like Fowler. I never really have. Van Noy again. I mean, there's a lot of stand-up pass rushers. Even Von Miller, Leonard Floyd. These are all stand-up pass rushers that I don't know.
But yeah, it's just
like if you tell me that they're going to get Von Miller as a situational pass rusher or Leonard Floyd as a situational pass rusher, great. But that's not what the question's. It's not in the the question's asking about like starters essentially. I think right, and maybe it's not. If you're talking about situationally, yeah, I mean I'm all aboard. Uche, Chason, and Von Millers of the world, but I still think teams are going to prioritize that style of pass rusher more than the Lions do. So. Really, if you're going to pay in free agency, even Mafe is kind of I don't know. I like Mafe though. That's the thing. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe I probably like him more than the Lions do in reality. But it gets tough with the price tag, right? That's really the problem that I run into with a lot. I mean, am I missing someone here that's like, hey, this guy makes sense?
I'm not seeing it. I mean, there are a couple names out there that I honestly don't know enough about, but like apparently are in for like. Do you know much about Malcolm Kuntz, the Raiders guy, 3rd round pick? Spotrac has him with a potential big payday coming up. I don't know much about him. Yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot of big names out there. And maybe this is again where, we talked about the Lions maybe having to get creative to get a center because the free agent center class isn't great. Maybe they get a little creative when it comes to a potential trade for an edge because they don't have a lot to to spend in terms of free agency and salary cap space, maybe it is down the line draft picks. And I don't love the idea of that either necessarily, but you're in this position where you need a starting edge, and you need someone that can at least be capable of stepping in and doing that. And I think it probably starts with Al-Qadim Muhammad, if we're being completely honest.
I think from a price tag standpoint and a system standpoint, and
it makes sense.
But again, they kind of viewed him almost as a pass rusher, to be honest. So
it's true. So I mean, they're gonna need someone who can do what Marcus Davenport does, but how do you find that in free agency when it's such a rare combination of size, speed? Yeah, you have to pay for it. And so is there like a bargain bin version of Marcus Davenport? No, because he is that's him. That's him. He is.
Gabe Akis out of Illinois, Derek Moore out of Michigan. Those are like day two guys that fit the system. That can be your Marcus Davenport types. Those are two guys like in the draft that I'm like, hey, if they get a tackle in round 1, who might be there in round 2?
Yeah.
Those are both guys at the Senior Bowl this week. And they both kind of fit into that Marcus Davenport role, and you're going to pay round 2 top 50 prices as opposed to free agency prices. I'd start focusing in on those guys instead of unfortunately, that's just kind of where they are with their funds.
All right. Final question here comes from Josh O, one of our Pride of Detroit Direct subscribers. Says, can we review positional value again? Jack Campbell's a first-team All-Pro, but I don't know how much he really impacts the game versus, say, an above-average pass rusher or a star on the offensive line. Same with Gibbs. If he can't be effective, if the offensive line is bad, should the Lions break the bank for him and or Campbell?
Well, both of those guys are center points of their side of the ball. The Lions adjusted their scheme to feature Gibbs more, and then they adjusted their front so that Jack Campbell can make more plays. And both guys are Pro Bowlers. Jackson All-Pro. Because they're really good, and the Lions have kind of adjusted what they do around those two players. So it's hard to quantify like how much more Jack Campbell means than Edge 2.
Right.
But in the Lions' mind, he does mean more. Right? Like they kind of view that Edge 2 role as a rotational role that they can try different guys through. At least it's similarly with their nose tackle. But their Mike is a guy who everything funnels through. The front, the back end, coverage, the run game defense. It's heavily centered around Jack. So I would say in the Lions' mind, he is a top 3 most important. He's one of the top 3 most important defenders that they have.
The question, though, is how does that affect the over? Because, like, I get where this question is coming from. Like, if you have this linebacker that's making all these plays that you've invested in, that's a Pro Bowl, All-Pro, wins the Butkus Award, whatever, but your defense finishes 23rd or whatever the Lions finished. Who cares? Who cares how good he is because he's not affecting the overall defense. If Jahmyr Gibbs is a top 5 running back, but your run game finishes in 23rd in, success rate, who cares? And on some level, I feel that and I respect it, and it does deserve to be part of the conversation for sure. The only thing I would say is if the offense, like, how bad do you think the offense would have been without Jahmyr Gibbs this year?
It's the intangibles. It's the things that they do beyond their standard roles.
Well, even beyond that to me, because like with such a bad offensive line, Jahmyr Gibbs still posted top 10 running back stats. He still had the highest explosive play rate in football. And explosive plays are everything. Like, I mean, just ask the Chicago Bears this year. On a down-to-down basis, that was not a great team. Pretty good on offense, but terrible on defense. But it's the explosive plays that separated them and allowed them to get as far as they did. Like, that is what Jameer gives you. That and to an extent, that's what Jack Campbell got you too. Because maybe not like super huge explosive plays, but the guy had 5.5 sacks or something. Had a couple forced fumbles.
He was third on the team in sacks.
Or
maybe he was fourth on the team.
And so I think you are getting some of those big plays out of those positions that you wouldn't be getting with a replacement level player. You wouldn't be getting with a 4th round pick instead of a 1st round pick. Go ahead.
I was just saying, it really comes down to what each scheme and what each organization
values
desires, right? And like if you put Jack Campbell in Denver, he's not as important because they rely so much on their edge guys, right? And on their front. But you put Jack in the Lions scheme and he's one of the best players that they have, and he's an all-pro. Right. You put him in San Fran, it's the same thing. Like he's going to be Fred Warner is huge in that scheme. And so the positional value, it's not just a black and white thing, unfortunately, because and I know we often, when we talk about analytics, which is kind of what this is, we try to make them as black and white as we can, and unfortunately it's not always in apples to apples comparison.
Yeah, I think the question then though becomes like, okay, he's a good fit in the Lions scheme, but is the Lions scheme valuing the wrong things? Should instead instead of doing a defensive scheme that is all about interior defensive linemen holding their blocks and linebackers playing downhill, should they be valuing something different? Should they be valuing pass rush? Should they be valuing zone coverage, whatever?
Well, 3 of the 4 teams that were in the 3 of the last 4 teams standing were all light your hair on fire pass rush teams, right? So like, I understand the value in that, and you can see how the production works. But we've also seen years where, this style that the Lions run tends to be successful as well. So it's tough to not be a creature of the moment and say, man, this is what I'm watching in front of me. This is what I want. And just think that you can snap your fingers and it goes. It takes years to kind of build them to get to this point. That's why Jack is a first-time Pro Bowler and a first-time All-Pro, and he wasn't a couple years ago, is because it takes time to get into to the system. It takes time for the system to adjust to you. And so it's rare that you can, do a full turnaround, quickly anymore.
And it's worth pointing out for all the talk about defense and pass rush in this year's playoffs and all those teams being very successful in both those things, the run defense in those teams have also been very, very good, right? Seattle has the number 1 DVOA run defense. Houston has the number 2 run defense DVOA. Denver, number 3. Rams, number 5. You do have to scroll down a bit to get to New England, but they're actually 25th in pass DVOA and 17th in run defense. So they're a better run defending team than a pass defense team as well. So there is certainly validity and examples of what the Lions are doing, being successful in this league and leading to long-term team success beyond just defensive success. But I certainly get the idea of like, hey, maybe instead of valuing these linebackers and these running backs, we should be valuing offensive linemen and pass rushers. And to be clear, like the Lions are clearly valuing offensive linemen. They've drafted one almost every year. Panay's really important. They talk about the importance of the offensive line. I don't think just because they invested in Jameer means they're going to let the offensive line go by the wayside. But it is an interesting question, and I think it's one we should continue to like monitor. I don't think you should ever be like, position, draft a running back whenever. It's fine. It's something that you need to value, but go ahead.
Jameer had 1,200 rushing yards, and 600 receiving yards. Like he had
Yeah.
he had like 850. Like that's a lot of production,
Sure.
you know, for a down year.
Yes. And plus, I mean, if you want to, I don't love doing this, but like, look at the recent Super Bowl teams and look at what they're investing in. Like the Eagles invested in Saquon Barkley to get over the hump, right? You know, how I'm trying to think of what were the specific investments that the Seahawks made in their running back. I don't remember when Kenneth Walker was drafted or Charbonnet was drafted, but like day one and
Kenneth
day
was
two, I think, right?
Walker was a second round pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And then I think Charbonnet, geez, was he a third rounder? I feel like he got a lot more love than what I remember. Yeah, Kenneth went 40th, 41st.
And Charbonnet 52nd. So like,
There you go.
you
So
know, it's
two
not
both second round picks.
right in back-to-back years. And for as much that Sam Darnold is rightfully getting a lot of credit for, like a lot of stuff that they do is built off the run game. It's built off play action. It's built off, physical being, this ground and pound team. And so I think all of that is to say, like, my ultimate answer to this question is you can build teams very, very differently and find success
Right.
in
Right.
many different ways. It's why I get annoyed every time this time of year where we're like, hey, look at these two Super Bowl teams. That's how you build a team. That's how you draft. That's how you allocate funds. That's how you hire certain type of coaches. All of those narratives are everywhere right now. Like Mike Vrabel is proof that that Dan Campbell can work because he's the
A
GM type
meathead.
of head coach, the
Oh,
meathead.
that's what I meant.
Right, not the X's and O's guy, right?
Right. Right.
And but of course, like, and you don't need the offensive play caller. Like, you can get a defensive minded coach because look at what's happening with Mike McDonald. Of course, like if one thing bounces the other way and Sean McVay wins, like then
Right.
the conversation completely changes, and it's just like. I think we just
When
need
you-
to realize that there are multiple ways you can build a team. There's multiple philosophies that you can have in terms of building an identity that work in the NFL, and it's not just what worked this particular year.
Yep. You get in trouble chasing those things, right?
Yeah.
And you get in trouble when you switch from coach to coach all the time. Like it's why the Lions struggled in like the 80s and 90s when they did, because they'd change a coach and that coach would want a whole different offensive line for a different style of blocking, and they'd get all these light athletes, and then they'd change a coach, and then he'd want a power run game, and they'd start shifting their offensive linemen to the power run game, and then they'd change a coach again and he'd want to flip back. And like they never ever built a really consistent like offensive line because they were constantly chasing.
Right.
And you can get into that. You can fall into that habit when you chase what's working now instead of trying to build what you believe in.
Right. And that's what I admired about this Lions regime from the get-go, is it didn't feel like they were chasing anybody in particular. It didn't feel like they were like, oh, let's, Brad Holmes comes from the Rams, let's go be the Rams. Or Dan Campbell came from Sean Payton, let's go be the Saints or the Broncos or whatever team. It felt like they were truly forging out their own identity based on their own philosophical beliefs. And I don't agree with 100% of them, but they're their own beliefs, and we've seen proof of it working. And so I want them to kind of continue on that path of their own beliefs. And can those philosophies change along the way and adapt? I sure hope so. We've certainly seen them do that, right? Like I think this needs to be underlined because it's not being said enough. You've said it plenty of times, but everyone has this impression that the Lions defense has just been the same since Dan Campbell got here. It's the Aaron Glenn type where we're playing a ton of man, where we're playing crush the can. This team has changed their defensive identity almost every single year. And it's not like a full whole scale change, but it's like, it's a tweak there. It's a schematic change. It's a, we got these three safeties that we were like really like, so we're going to play some three safety looks. We have these two gapping guys that we really like in the middle of our defensive line, but maybe we'll do some one gapping too. Like, I feel like they are way more versatile defensively than we give them credit for. We just say, hey, it was Aaron Glenn, hey, it was Kelvin Shepard. They both came from the same tree, and it's bad defense, bad defense, bad defense, kind of good defense, bad defense. They're just. I don't think there's the stubbornness on defense that they're getting the reputation for having.
Yeah, it again, I think that goes to something we were talking about earlier, and that's, you know, people are so heavily focused on offense. And again, I blame fantasy football for this, but like people get so caught up in like offensive success and like I feel like people spend a lot of time on offense, understanding the nuances of it. And defense is a lot harder to understand. It's a lot more complicated. There's so many different things. And even today's NFL, the way that they're changing things on the back end, and their coverage is like it's hard to keep up, and it can get very
Sure.
complicated very quick. And I don't, and it's difficult to ask the average fan to put in a lot of the work that's needed to understand these little differences in how one defense operates compares to another. Like it like for example, people look at man coverage versus zone coverage, and like I don't think we always understand how drastic or how the splits aren't as drastic as they appear. But
Sure.
then when things get even more complicated is like when you start talking about split field, one half is zone and one half is man.
Right.
Like right when that starts happening, and like there's that stuff that people look at like it's hard to ask the average fan
Of course.
to understand and identify that. So it's a harder thing to pinpoint, I guess
Yep.
is what I'm saying. So when you're watching football and you're like it's easy to say this looks like what it is, even if there's these subtle changes that we've been seeing occur over the last 5 years.
All right, we drifted far off from that question, Josh,
Yeah,
but thank
yeah,
you
yeah.
for it. And we'll close up things there. Just in terms of announcements and stuff, I hadn't thought about it, but I think we'll continue to do our office hours over on Pride of Detroit on Thursday. What's today? Today's Wednesday, so tomorrow. Or when you're listening to this today, over on the website, probably in the afternoon, somewhere like 2 to 4-ish, which if you haven't participated in the first 2 weeks, basically myself and some of the other Pride of Detroit staff hang out in the comment section of a post and answer as many questions as we can in a 2-hour span, something new that we're trying for the website that we've found a lot of fun so far. So if you didn't get any questions answered in this week's midweek mailbag, you can always go over to the website, prideofdetroit.com, and look for the office hours post on Thursdays. Next week will be a Pride of Detroit Direct exclusive mailbag. So if you're a PODD subscriber, you can reply to some of the emails that we send out with your latest questions, and we'll try to answer as many as possible within a sometimes 3 to 4 hour window. And then also for Pride of Detroit Direct subscribers, we're going to have a first bite where we talk to a Giants writer about Mike Kafka and that hire and what they think of Kafka's 4 years in New York. So a lot of stuff coming your way for Pride of Detroit Direct subscriber, plenty of stuff available for you if you're not. Just make sure you're following us on socials, going to prideofdetroit.com for all of the latest news and analysis. But until next time, I'm Jeremy. That's Erik over there. Appreciate y'all listening. It's chaos. Be kind.
Recording stopped.
All right. LJ, can you show how it works in the break? The comments and hanging during games never works for me. It feels like it has to be desktop instead of a mobile thing. You're talking about the office hours? I can show you what that looks like. Granted, this is going to be on a desktop. But yeah, I mean, basically you just scroll down to the bottom and like just throw any sort of question in, and then, you know, Erik was answering some last week. I was answering some. Brandon was in there.
The time did not work for me last week. I know,
Okay.
like, I know you had a morning appointment, and that's why we
Yeah.
had to push it to the afternoon. But 2 to 4, I'm on the road an hour and a half of that, picking children up
Okay.
from school and stuff.
That's
So
right.
I was
I
like,
should know that.
no, I looked at I was like, well, this person's asking me directly a question, and I see no one else is answering it, so I better get to that.
But yeah, if by the way, if you don't have a Pride of Detroit account, and you're a Pride of Detroit reader, you should, because it makes, sorry, my computer is slowing down right now. It makes the ad experience way better. You'll still get an ad every now and then, but like you'll never have those videos popping up at the bottom that are interfering with the article and things like that. So you should really get a Pride of Detroit account. It's obviously free, blah, blah, blah. And allows you to comment. Like, we're really trying to focus on comments and community this year at Pride of Detroit. Even more so than, I mean, obviously that's something that's always been at the forefront of our efforts, but yeah, just, and 12 to 2 might make more sense. So just go to Pride of Detroit. Well, I'll announce it early in the morning and put up a post early in the morning. So even if you aren't able to be there during the open hours, you can send in a question ahead of time.
Yeah. I'll do my
or sometimes
best.
afterwards too. What?
I said I'll do my best.
You do your best. You're done. I mean, listen. It's not going to be the same people that are available every week. That's just how the world works.
Well, I also think that you get to the questions so quickly that it's hard to keep up. My speed got tested this week.
Yeah. You did a pretty good job with the Kafka hire.
I was very worried. I was writing. I waited a second and I was like, all right, where's Jeremy? And I was like, he's not responding to this in any way. He's not responding on Twitter. He's not responding in the Slack. And we had an all channel. And so I'm like, he's not responding at all. And I waited like a minute and then I was like, all right, I gotta start it. And then I pulled up DMs to you on the side
that I've never seen you pull, which is you texted me.
I did because I sent you a DM and you didn't respond, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna text him because I got it. Like, it's big enough news but I was doing it while I was like trying to like start as well because I was like, people know this. Like, I'm not breaking news here. It takes me about 20 minutes to write what would take you probably like 5, or 10. You know what I mean? Like and there are so many times when we both start the same article at the same time. And we're like, oh, now we both have the same article. And I hate wasting our time that way. So I was like, all right, I gotta find him.
Yeah. Silly me thought that the fact that Jared Goff had been named to the Pro Bowl,
dude, that was a wicked day. There was so much
like
crap.
4
O'Neal.
news. The Jim O'Neal thing broke. Scotty Montgomery interviewing for the Ravens job broke. All those things. I'm like, you know what? I mean, I'd already planned to go out and have lunch with a friend anyways, but I was certain that I'd be okay for 2 hours.
Nope.
Most certainly
Monday was
not.
like, you are wrong. Yeah, no, that was a snow day too, so I had my kids all over the place. Like, I kept saying to Georgia, "Daddy's typing. What does that mean? Daddy's typing. What does that mean?"
What does that mean?
It means leave me alone. If I'm typing, just leave me alone for a minute. Just I see you. I acknowledge you. I will get back to you in a very timely fashion, but I have to write this right now. If it's I don't know. I'm trying. Georgia's the only one that still doesn't quite get. If Daddy's typing and like sweating and like feverishly trying to get something done, that means it's important. And just leave him alone for a minute.
A couple people mentioning Shedeur Sanders as a Pro Bowler.
Jesus, look, ever since Tyler Huntley got it a couple years ago, I'm now not surprised by anything. So,
yeah, I mean, we went through it, I think on the POD cast. So many AFC quarterbacks are injured right now.
Yeah, but
It's ridiculous.
I think
still, obviously.
so. How many quarterbacks did they have to go through? I'd say two are in. One's in the Super Bowl. That leaves 12. They went through 12. That's what I think. They went through 12
probably
to get
not
to
far
him.
off.
No, man, it's not.
Because again, like Mahomes is injured, Burrow's been dealing with an injury. Obviously,
Aaron, I said it in the thing. I said in
Broncos.
that comment. Shedeur Sanders better than Aaron Rodgers. Confirmed. I mean, I know. What's his name in with Chargers? He turned
Herbert.
it down.
Yeah,
Herbert turned it down.
because he's been dealing with a broken.
Rodgers turned it down.
Rodgers did turn it down.
Yeah, of course. They would have got the Shedeur before Aaron.
Are you
Come
sure?
on.
Are you sure?
100%. Oh man. Can you imagine how good Seattle would be if they had a good quarterback? My goodness.
The Steelers? Or
No. The Seahawks.
Oh, you're still riding that narrative. Okay. Good luck with that.
Do you know how many watching that game, I was like, if he throws it half a second earlier, that guy turns it and he's gone. If he throws it half a second earlier,
You're losing this battle.
There's no pass breakup.
You're losing this battle,
Dude.
Eric.
Dude, he's in a good system that works for him. And don't get me wrong, he is an accurate thrower, but his processing is so slow compared to look, you want to tell me he's an average quarterback in the NFL? Cool. He's better than Shedeur. Got it. But people are talking about him like he's a top 10 he's not a top 10 quarterback, guys. He's not. I don't care what stats can lie to you. Watch how late he is on his throws. Now, he's still accurate when he's late, but there's so many throws that are half a second to a second later than they needed to be, and he puts his guys in tougher spots, and he's got talented players that really can make it. But man, if his processing was just a little bit quicker, he'd be
Jared Goff.
No, come on, he's not that accurate. He's not Jared Goff accurate.
All right.
But
you're not picking the Patriots, though, are you?
No, I picked Seattle like 3 weeks ago, and you were yelling at me. You were like, "Oh, you Sam Darnold, turn around on Sam Darnold," and I'm like, "No."
I don't. No, that sounds like something I would say, but I don't remember.
He's
that.
still bad. He's still bad, or he's still average. He's an average quarterback. He's better this year than he was last year. I'll give him that.
Yeah,
he's better with the Seahawks than he was with the Vikings.
Is that just because he hasn't collapsed in big moments?
Well, I mean, sure, that's part of it. But he's always been a talented. He obviously is a talented quarterback. There's a reason he was drafted. What was it, second overall or whatever it was, right?
Wait, does your Sam Darnold hate just stem from our very first credentials game? Is that what it is?
No.
Is the fact that his very first NFL throw was a pick six to Quandre Diggs? In a game that he would end up torching the Lions on for the rest of the game.
He's got the arm talent. He's gifted. His accuracy isn't bad. He's an average. He'll always be average because his processing is just a tick slow. It just is. It's just he needs to see it fully, not even just a little bit. Not his anticipation is not where it needs to be. But he needs to see it and then say, "Oh, there it is," and then throw it. Goff anticipates
he does.
He understands the system. He anticipates the great quarterbacks are always these guys where the receiver turns and they're like, "Oh crap, the ball is on me."
Yeah.
Watch Darnold. Watch him in the Super Bowl. He's got to see it, and then he registers, and then he throws it. And that is, ooh.
All right.
It's tough.
I'm going to keep a closer eye on that during the Super Bowl.
Rewatch the Rams game. You can watch your buddy. You can watch your buddy play, and
I'll be honest though.
he can anticipate.
God,
Hey, I'll tell you what.
Stafford was
Stafford-
so freaking good in the second half of that game.
Yeah.
Like
first half, but
yeah,
yeah,
he laid some beautiful passes, and
Stafford is a top 10 quarterback, 100%.
Stafford's a top 5 quarterback.
Okay, I'm not even gonna. Okay, and if you're talking about actual passer, yeah, I'm on that 100%. But like, I don't know. Depends on what you value, I guess, when you make your top 10 list. But I value accuracy, and
Darnold's got it. Great.
Darnold is accurate. I value processing. Yeah. That's a little slower.
Right.
It's not as bad as some of these guys. Like Hendon was like that. That's why Hendon never made it in this system, in this offense.
Right.
Is because he had to see it and then throw it. Like Hendon has a great arm.
Yeah.
And like there were times when he made throws and you were like, "Whoa!" You could hear it zip.
Sure.
Like,
you know whose processing was bad
couldn't
and
process.
very obvious was bad was Jared Stidham. Like the whole week of this, like, let's try to elevate Jared Stidham and like I think he's just as good and like he's actually like
no.
just the hyping up of Jared Stidham for a week, only for him to like, that first drive, or maybe it was the second drive where he lays like the 50-yard pass and leads him on a touchdown drive. And understandably, like the second half of that game was a throwaway because, I mean, who can be a good quarterback in those terrible conditions? But like after that, it was just like, oh my God, Stidham can't get rid of the football. He's just holding on to it forever. Dear God, he's going to go get himself killed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he also threw a couple hospital balls as well, right?
Yeah.
When he puts again. So Sam Darnold does it too sometimes, so. But it'd be an interesting debate. Is Drake May a better quarterback than Sam Darnold? I might say yes. I might.
I don't know.
As a total
listen,
package. As a total package. Because he's got the arm, he's got the mobility.
He's an MVP candidate, so I can't brush off the.
I think his processing is better.
I feel like we have to talk about it since we're live the day after the news broke.
Mm-hmm.
But Bill Belichick?
That's dumb. That's just them being dumb. Petty. There's a bunch of petty people.
Yes.
Like,
is it? Do you think it's just a matter of
yes,
of
just them being petty?
Well, no, but I mean, like the controversies,
Deflategate,
right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Because, when you look at his career, his head coaching career is just unbelievable on its own. But then when you add in like the fact that he was like an assistant and all the stuff he did as an assistant as well,
He won 2 Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator.
Right. Like I don't care about first ballot, second ballot. I don't care about that stuff, but people do.
I also don't. I've been on this podcast multiple times saying like the Hall of Fame is stupid and a sham, and the fact that we try to compare people from multiple eras is stupid. And I don't like keeping greatness. Like, great players are just great players. I don't really feel the need for a Hall of Fame, to be completely honest. Mm-hmm. It's just an opportunity to do what we're doing right now, which is arguing. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's fun to people, but I'm just like, I just rather celebrate the NFL in general. And as I wrote in the article today, like I appreciate that there's like an institution and a physical building where we can go and see highlights and have artifacts from the greatest players in this game. But to have like this club, this exclusive club that we're only going to let in a couple people, like, that's stupid. I hate it.
Hmm.
And then you split that club Like, oh, it's not just about the club.
Even further.
It's about the first ones. Who are the first? Who got in the first time? We're even more exclusive. Our gold jacket is shinier. Like, no, stop it.
The idea that they're sending him a message, like, we'll let you in next year. Like, all right, now you're just being stupid. You're just being petty. If that,
Right.
Like, if you know he's good enough to get in, and you're just being petty because you don't want him to have the shinier gold jacket, like,
That's not real, by the way. I made that up.
I know.
Okay.
I was playing into your
Thank you.
analogy.
I appreciate that. But yeah, I've never seen the internet so in agreement that this is ridiculous, which only makes it more ridiculous that there were at least 11 people out of 50 who said no when the internet is like 99%. What are we doing here? Unbelievable. Shout out Burkett, though. He was on the right side of history. He wrote a whole article about it, which I actually appreciated. Can we discuss Robert Kraft, an owner getting into the Hall of Fame? Like, what did he do? Wrote the checks and as Bill Belichick found and designed the roster? I don't know. I mean, I don't care about NFL ownership at all. It matters, right? I mean, we just got done talking about how the Browns are a freaking mess and the Lions were kind of a mess until ownership changed, but
Right, but owners shouldn't necessarily be part of the Hall of Fame unless those owners are making, like, the qualify for the Hall of Fame. You should have to have changed the game in some way. And if you're an owner who has changed the game in some way, then that's great. But if you're just an owner who won a lot, get out of here. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
what about Robert Kraft controversies?
Right.
Massage parlors? Does that mean you can't be a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Was he a first ballot? Was Robert Kraft
I have no idea.
I don't know either. I don't think he should be in. Just because you won, your team won, doesn't mean a whole lot.
I mean, Jerry Jones is 1,000,000% going to go in, right? Is he already there? I don't know. When do you become eligible if you're still the owner?
I don't know.
What's up, Brett?
I don't know how it works, man.
Jerry Jones is already in.
He is? That's stupid.
He is in. Inducted in 2017.
Ah, that's why he is the way he is, I guess, huh?
I don't think that's the reason why the way he is.
I almost made a reference that I stopped. I stopped.
I would push you, but I feel like it's probably better that I don't.
Nope. Yeah.
He didn't go in as an owner? What does that mean?
What did he go in as?
An influencer? Transitioning the NFL through marketing, stadium innovation, and crucially, media rights deal.
So he made the money. He.
Brett? I don't like the Senior Bowl, okay? I'll see you at the Combine. I know the Senior Bowl is different than the year that I went mid or right post-COVID. But I still think the Senior Bowl is overrated. It's boring. And I'm just like, at least I have like a month to prepare for the Combine to dip my feet in. Like, if I went to the Senior Bowl right now, I'd be so behind on all draft things that I am right now so far behind on draft things that I wouldn't even know where to start.
You start with the board I sent you.
Yeah, that I've totally opened and looked at.
Well, it's already out of date. I'll get you a new one.
Maybe I don't know. I can't transition quickly enough away from the season into draft mode. I just can't.
Man, if I had someone who could take care of my kids, I'd go. Brett,
You have a better chance at getting me back to the Senior Bowl than Erik, I think.
I think I need to have Jeremy move in to my house and
be a babysitter.
Take my kids to school for a week, and then I can go.
I need to be an interim Erik Schlitt dad.
Interim dad.
Hey, the internet hasn't had a problem in several streams now, Big Earn, okay? I didn't change anything, but it hasn't dropped out on us. So, knock on wood. How many people in chat watched the Shrine game last night? I thought about recording it and did not. Because
I recorded it.
I think the thing that would have been interesting to watch is maybe like the commentary. Like the commentary, I'm sure they do a good job of like, here are the people you should know. Here are the people you should be paying attention
and they tell you a little background tidbits on these guys that are fun little facts, and you're like, oh, that's a cool thing. And so
that would be more valuable to me than the game, but it would be hard for me to watch a football game and pay more attention to the commentary than to the game, because it's always been the reverse for me, where I'm like barely paying attention to the commentary and watching the game.
That's kind of how I watch the Senior Bowl and the Shrine game. Is I listen more than I watch.
Yeah.
If I'm watching practice, though, it's the opposite. It's practice. It's like training camp.
Yeah.
You're dialed in and you're not listening to anything else.
Right. Do you have any analysis of the game? People are wondering.
Not really.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I most of the information I gathered was leading up to who are the guys that fit, who do I think people should be paying attention to, that type of stuff. I was doing math with my daughter while listening to the game. So like I was like half in, half out, type of thing. You know what I mean? 6th grade advanced math, no joke. Like I'm like, how do I remember that? Like I don't remember how to do this.
You in sines and cosines?
Myself. She's in it's right now it's there's like the thing that I struggled with last night was I was trying to remember how to isolate the variable by dividing by a fraction. And so like you have to like
flip the denominator,
flip it and then you have to flip it and multiply it, right?
Yeah.
But I was looking at it and I was like, I don't remember how to do this. I'm like,
I'll be honest.
Wait a minute, how do we do that?
I don't know if I remember how to multiply fractions.
But
together.
like there's some things that like come back to me once you start like looking at it and figuring it out as you go. Like then you're like, oh yeah, now I can reduce and I can cross reduce and like
right.
But then you're like, at the time, in the moment when your kid is like, I'm stuck on this problem, and you're like,
Google.
Right? I'm like, don't watch me Google this answer. It's no joke, man.
Yeah.
Her and Laura. So I don't know if I ever told, Laura wrote the math curriculum for her district.
No, I didn't
so
know that.
like, yeah. So like Laura, Laura and her, they're like peas in a pod. They just do it. And I'm like, I can do it. I haven't done it in so long. It's like way gone for me.
Can we get Pro Bowl live stream of the game with faux serious commentary? Maybe. Maybe, I don't know. We can't stream it. We can't literally stream it on
the
stream
hard
if
part.
That's what you're asking.
The hard part about watching it is like identifying who the players are and like you can be like, oh, that was a good play. Then you're like, okay, wait a minute. What helmet is he wearing? What's his number? And then you try and find who he is, and you're like, okay, it just
Hold on. Are
it's
you
hard to
talking
do.
Senior Bowl? Because the
Yeah,
question
isn't
was
that what you were talking about?
no. He was talking about Pro Bowl.
Oh, well, oh, I thought he was talking about the
No.
All-Star games.
Well, that is an All-Star game. It's a Pro Bowl.
If you want to call it that anymore.
Why do teams send coaches to coach the team? Is it to gather data or see if the coach is ready for more workload?
Both.
Yeah, that's definitely a both situation. I don't think like you get a ton of like great experience as a coach, but you get some. But to me, it's definitely more intel. Like if you're a position coach, let's say the Lions are going to draft an offensive lineman and they send Hank Fraley down there. Like,
Well, they sent Tuiasa Sopo to the Senior Bowl.
there you go. Was he coaching? What do you know? What position?
Quarterbacks.
Right. Like
Not necessarily something the Lions need, but
but it's almost as valuable, I would say, as a formal meeting at the combine. Maybe even more valuable, where like you're going through a game plan, you're getting
study habits.
You're seeing the mental processing take place in real time.
Yep.
I think you get more value from that than like Tuiasa Sopo. Like, is Tuiasa Sopo going to come out of the Senior Bowl and be a much better quarterbacks coach?
No, but like Sean Dion Hamilton.
Sure.
He went there and he coached defensive backs, and then it wasn't a year after, like it was a year later that he ends up being the promoted to position coach of linebackers. So like there's merit. And so like with the Lions guys, Tuiasa Sopo, even Dan Skipper, right?
Sure.
Like they didn't send Dan. Dan just kind of did it. But it's been mostly coaches development.
Right.
With the Lions.
And I would say too, for the coach himself, it's probably a good networking opportunity as well. Like if you go out there and people see you like getting to it in coaching and like really motivating the kids, like there's general managers for every single team there usually, or some sort of front office things that are going to notice what you're putting out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think there's a chance Skipper joins the staff in any sort of?
Yep. Offensive assistant.
We're just gonna it's just gonna be a coaching staff of 50 people.
They literally hired Tuiasa Sopo and Gradowski, and they were like, we don't know what we're gonna do with them yet. Gradkowski, thank you. They're like, we don't know what you're gonna do yet, and then they're like, yeah, you can work with the receivers and you can work with the quarterbacks, but really they're just offensive assistants is what they were. And so Skip's the same way. You're gonna bring him back. You're gonna Dom Muehlbach him.
But the thing is, you already have an offensive line coach and an assistant offensive line coach.
Right. That's why you're gonna make him just an offensive assistant. They have those guys too, basically like GAs in college. Like it's a introduction to coaching.
And as Colton Bleckner points out, he's bald. So
yeah,
he's welcome.
That's a prerequisite now, apparently.
I don't think there's a limit on the amount of coaches that you can have. I don't think there's any.
How much you want to pay?
Yeah, and you can pay as much as you want too. There's not a coaching salary cap.
Correct. Yep. However, it's the same thing with the front office, right? Like so many people are curious about like how different roles work. Like for example, the Falcons, they hired their GM. Are they still looking for their GM? I forget what it is. They're
looking for the GM. Yeah, they hired their Matt Ryan specific position to Matt Ryan.
Right. And then and so like where's the crossover there? How much power does the GM have? Why is that position still open even though you've hired your head coach? Like that's run completely different than the Lions, who have Chris Spielman, who just does whatever he wants.
Right.
Right. They're like, we need Chris Spielman just to have him.
Just to be here.
Right. And like, you can do that. I mean, do all you want.
Sure. You need
it's all about Sheila.
Yeah.
It's all about Sheila. Sheila wants to do it. or if Sheila's on board, willing to sign that paycheck to justify it, sweet.
Yeah. All right. I think it's probably time to go. You got about 5 minutes before you wanted to get out of here anyways.
Yeah, my I had to unplug my power battery to my computer. I just switched it over. I just had to plug the power part back in, and I killed my other monitor in order to so my computer wouldn't die. But it lasted
The whole show?
the whole time without dying. So
Good
job, MacBook
battery. MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
Hashtag not an ad. When will
it
be
could
live
be
next?
though Apple if you want it to be.
That's right.
Apple.
Hey,
Hmm?
I'm happy to say things about that company.
Apple.
If I get
Sure.
paid. I'm not
Yeah.
going to keep saying their company name until they start paying me, though.
Fine.
Colton, if you're interested in cap relief for retired players, just go to Over the Cap or Spot Track and look at what the cap savings is. If they're cut, it's basically the same thing, depending on when they retire, but more or less that. The longer answer is the teams are capable of recouping more than that if they want to, but that's when you get into the whole situation that the Lions did with Calvin and Barry, where you're going after signing bonus, you're going after guaranteed money that you're technically allowed to recoup, but traditionally you're not supposed to do that because it's a faux pas and it'll ostracize your player for a decade in some cases. But anyways, all right, we'll leave it there. Next time we'll be live is probably next Monday. So, we usually plan on going live somewhere between 5 and 7. So you can expect some sort of news to break probably right around 4 o'clock so that we have to throw away our entire show and start anew.
The nice thing is you just have the show written for next week, right?
It honestly, and it's done great for views. Like we were right there when the Petsing news broke, and so our YouTube video has like one of the most views we've had in a live stream forever. And then an hour after the Kafka news broke, we were live again, and that one's already off to a pretty hot start. So I don't love being fully unprepared for a show, and one of our main reviews, our most new review on Apple Podcasts is like, these guys are disorganized. They don't even know what they're doing. They said they didn't even know anything about Petsing. Yeah, because it happened 15 minutes ago. Anyways, I don't need to rant about reviews, but this is a good reminder that if you do like this show and you want to see us supported and all that sort of stuff, don't just rate us. Give us a nice review. It's a little bit annoying that 10 years of hard work of this show, and one of the first reviews you see is someone saying that we don't prepare, we don't put in the work, and you guys know better. So anyways, that's my mini rant. I don't like being. It doesn't matter in the long run. I understand, but either way, if you like us, if you support us, if you think we're doing a good job, take the extra minute or two to give us a nice little review. Because, yeah, exactly. Like, the negative people are the ones that tend to run and do reviews. And
I only write reviews when I'm mad.
we need more positivity in the world, chat.
We do.
And if you like what you see, let us know. And we'll start reading them. And we're going to stop reading the bad ones. Because I don't like doing that. Anyways, we'll see you Monday afternoon or evening, and then not again for the midweek mailbag next week, unless you're a Pride of Detroit direct subscriber. So go to pridedetroit.com/subscribe if you want to become one, and you'll get an extra podcast this week talking about Mike Kafka with the Giants writer. But until then, appreciate y'all. We'll see you soon. Bye.